Had so much fun, we thought, what the hell? We'll do it again. We're in Viroqua. This time we are live. We are down at the Norwegian Hollow. You can find us, I have no idea where. We're at the bottom of a hill. First time I came out here, I swear to God, banjos were playing and people were chasing me from behind. So I felt like Ned Beatty on a bad Friday night. But nevertheless, that's where we're at. So come on by and say hi if you're out here in the Viroqua area. In the meantime, the Green Bay Packers are in London. And they're working out today. I don't even know exactly the time it is that they're going to sleep, but they're going to sleep for a short period of time, and then I take it back. They were going to land, go to the hotel, drop their stuff off, and then head right to the practice facility, and they were going to practice today until basically they're damn near dropped, then to bed. So it is 8 hours ahead, so... What are we thinking? 4 o'clock over there right now, Ben? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not a good math guy, but I can look it up.
All you got to do is look at the clock. You got a clock in front of you, don't you? Yeah, so 8 hours, something like that. That would be 4 o'clock. So, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Be 6 o'clock over there.
Bill, it's 4:03 currently.
4:03.
It is 6 hours.
6 hours. It's 6 hours time? Why does it take 8 hours to fly there?
Because this is a big galaxy brain question. I don't know. That's a terrific question. I do know you can't fly straight. You fly with the curvature of the Earth. Okay. So you do more of a round path to get there if you're looking at a flat map.
Okay.
Because the Earth is round.
We'll smoke them if you got them then. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. I'm following you, man. I'm right there with you. So I get it. Regardless of the Green Bay Packers, they are in London and they're going to work out. And coming up here a little bit later on this afternoon, our time, that evening their time, they hit the hay. And then after that, they wake up tomorrow to what would be over there a semi-normal day, and then get themselves reacclimated and get ready for Sunday's game. So there you go. That's the Packers and the Giants coming up this weekend. How was your night last night, Ben? How was Kenny and Halprin?
Oh, it was good. Zach was still out. We were live with former Wisconsin tight end Jacob Pedersen. A lot of good chatter. He was in the Wisconsin program when Bielema left, so a lot of good context with what the team could be facing. Podcast is up now. We did trivia last night, as I always do on Thursdays.
Okay.
Just got smacked in the face. I know nothing. My knowledge isn't functional. Like when they ask questions, Everyone knows. Like I couldn't find what Oedipus was. The answer was Oedipus. I just couldn't place it. So, but I don't know. I'm fired up today, Bill. The Phillies play later, and I'm on edge.
Yeah, I was going to say today the baseball postseason gets underway as the Brewers sit at home licking their wounds from the 2022 season. We're going to talk some point spreads today. That's going to be coming up a little bit later on. Our buddy from Matt Mitchell from the Action Network going to be joining us. Cassidy Hill's going to be here, talk more Packers. So is Mike Clemens today. We've got a lot of sound, if you will, from the coaches and such, and some of the players ahead of this game, this contest coming up. Now, I got to go back. I was listening to you guys talk before, Ebo and Rowdy, you guys, and you had a caller, and I cannot fathom for the life of me that I caught the tail end of this, but am I correct in assuming that the caller was stating that Jim Leonard, because of his adversity, it would be the best head coach? And then he said they should take a look at Quintez Cephas because Cephas's dad was shot in the head and he had to overcome that adversity. Did I hear that correctly?
That wasn't the general point. Was the team has talked about how much adversity they're facing, the players, that is, with Paul Chryst getting fired. And his point was, if there's anybody to guide them through that and get them to realize what adversity is, I guess, is Jim Leonard, who's gone through a lot in his career, overcome a lot to have a lot of success. And then he was saying in terms of people that could speak to the team and talk about adversity, Cephas would be one. So just the general, how do you move past the Chryst era and into Leonard, and how do they really go play football on Saturday after what's gone on?
Gotcha. I was not following that, and I thought that's, okay, now I completely understand it and appreciate that. So I had to get that clear because I didn't think I was hearing it right, and I wanted to make sure that I was before I kind of dropped any conversation regarding that. I was kind of like, okay, wait a minute, I got to make sure I get this correct. When it comes to adversity, it's not necessarily about, at this point in time, overcoming adversity. Because if you focus on the adversity, it can drag you down. What you have to do is get better. You have to coach better. You have to figure out ways to get from point A to point B better. You manage your time better. You focus on your task at hand better. That all of that stuff. Because if you're sitting around in a locker room right now going, "Oh man, Paul Christ, I can't believe this," that then you're already beat. You're already beat. It's nothing is going to help you at this point. So what you need to do as a head coach is you say, look, what's done is done. We will have time to reflect on that after the season, or on a day that's an off day, or when you're away from the facility with your friends. But right now, our task at hand is to get ready for Northwestern, to get better. Part of the reason we are in this particular situation is because we haven't performed up to our par, what we think we should be. And to me, that's where it starts. I mean, Jim Leonard, granted, I give him a lot of credit for everything he's overcome, absolutely. But in the grandest of schemes, no, you got to move. You got to get better. You got to figure out ways to be more efficient. And all the things that have been preached to you, you got to get better at. So while I understand where the head is, the thought is, the coaching aspect of this has to come into play more so than anything, in my opinion. I mean, you can rally the troops and get guys, fired up to run out of the tunnel. But once the game starts, it comes down to X's and O's, execution, and more so anything, it comes down to Tuesday through Thursday and Friday walkthrough than it does on game day. Everything you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is indicative of what you're going to be on Saturday. That in football, that's the way it always has been, and that's the way it always will be. How prepared you are for the task at hand, and how capable you are to overcome the task at hand. That's it. So I get the adversity thing, but I had to get the clarification on all that, because I was thinking, wait a minute, that's a little bit off the beaten path. So anyway, Corey says, Bill, my biggest thought on the Packers game is to stay injury-free. There has been serious injuries on this trip in the past. Give me your thoughts. I tell you what, I completely agree with you. We were talking about this earlier this morning. When you start to look at this team and you think, okay, the good news is that Adrian Amos was back. You saw Jair Alexander, who was back. You saw guys back at practice. That's terrific, because then you put your secondary back together. You're waiting to find out about those guys, so to speak. But you've got a guy like Tyrod Taylor, who the Giants, they have ruled him out. Wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver Kadarius Toney, wide receiver Kenny Galladay, linebacker Azeez Ojulari, Cordell Flott, the defensive lineman Mondo. They're all out. The Giants will not need to declare any additional inactives on Sunday morning, because these guys are all out. Whatever's there is there. So Daniel Jones is going to be your quarterback, and he's going to get because he looks, at least right now, like he's ready to go. So he's going to be the guy to go. And if he can't do it, or he's hampered, then you're you're probably going to have things much, much easier than ever anticipated. In the meantime, on the Packers side of things, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, earlier today out here, and I shouldn't say earlier on the air because I'm misleading you for those that have listened to the program. But the fact of the Packers injury report, good news, Jair Alexander back at full participation. He's good to go. You've got Adrian Amos. He's listed as questionable. Didn't practice on Wednesday, back yesterday and today. David Bakhtiari, as we kind of figured, when you fly, if you have an injury, you kind of take a little time away. You'd like to stay in the ice tub. So that's probably what he's doing. Didn't practice. But everything else, you got Tariq Carpenter. He's questionable. Devontae Wyatt, because of that quad, he's listed as questionable. Did not practice the last couple of days, but was limited on Wednesday. But everything else is good. Everything else is good. So that was good. And Adrian Amos, like I mentioned. So if you get your secondary depth back, going back to your injury question, if you can keep everybody together and you don't lose anybody in this contest, man, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. Anthony asking a question about Aaron Rodgers, saying, does he have to have a big game in this contest with all the people that are out for the Giants? Turning over the ball is probably going to be epic this week for the defense. You can't get too high on that. You're playing an offense that doesn't have many weapons. No. You just got to go play your game. You can't worry about what may or may not happen with somebody else. You just got to go play your game. And hopefully you execute properly. Look, you can play an opponent that's down, and I think fans' expectations go up, saying not only should you win, but you should win in dominating fashion. But no, just go do your thing. If you don't execute and play the game the way you're supposed to, then regardless of a beat-up opponent or not, you're not going to look as good, as crisp, as solid. I mean, that's all. I think all we're looking for at this point is advancement from what we've seen so far this season. Complicated Fella says adversity talk is a load of crap. Maybe the team should get a petting zoo right off of the weight room to help the players cope. So tired of people not taking personal responsibility and then performance. 100% agree. That's what I was saying. It's not about you got to deal with it. It's the elephant in the room. But you don't dwell on it. It's about coaching and execution. Period. Rick says, I'm not sure I'd have 69 Bakhtiari play much if it's on that field turf. Yeah, I don't know what that plan is. He didn't play the full game last week against New England. He did come out of a series or two, so he didn't play every snap, and they're trying to build him back up to that. But, don't forget, Rick, they practice on the field turf, on the exact same field turf. That's what they practice on and have full go practices on. So, yeah, it's I could see the concern, but they practice on it. Many of the fields that they're going to play on have it. Now, next week they're back at Lambeau and they're back on the regular grass. I haven't even looked at that long-term schedule to see, because they play on field turf in Buffalo. New York coming here is grass. Chicago is grass. I'd have to go back and look at the full schedule to see how many times they're going to play. But the bottom line is, many of the fields throughout the NFL now are field turf. It's not like you can really avoid it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you can necessarily just get away from that and say, well, he's not going to practice on or play on those particular days or play nearly as much. You either do or you don't. When you do, you go full speed. But I get the concern. I get the pause for concern. So anyway, we are broadcasting live. We're at the Norwegian Hollow here in Viroqua. Our final day here. We leave early tomorrow morning, but we're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to be heading down to Gassers after the show today, and then Kickapoo Creekside. We're going to be there tonight, and then after that, I don't know. I really don't know after that. There's a whole bevy of things for us to do. We were down at the Nelson Agri Center. Shout out to those folks, as they have now become the Nelson Agri Center Ace Hardware. So good for them. They've changed some things, so not a bad way to go. And just have seen a lot of great people here in the town of Viroqua. And one thing happened yesterday. We'll talk about coming up in the next hour of the program. But it was really cool. It was very, very much an honor. So we had that going on yesterday as well. So anyway, broadcasting live down here at the Norwegian Hollow. Stay tuned. We got more with Bill Michaels Show after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gene Nadella in the title tones, featuring Wayne Larrivee, Jason Wilde, and Mark Tauscher. Game Day Bus, take 47.
Let's all take
the Game Day Bus
to Titletown. Let's go.
Wayne, Tausch, Wilde, haven't you been practicing all year? What if I said Pella fans can get 0% interest for 48 months on any replacement project right now?
Yeah!
And there is your Pella.
Can he say that? Isn't that trademarked?
His paycheck for this says otherwise. Speaking of catchphrases, we call this the Pella Now Pay Later option. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin's experts stop by for an in-home consultation. They'll help you choose the perfect windows for your home. The installation is completed with no hassle or mess, leaving only perfect results while you put no money down. Make no payments and no interest for up to 4 years. Schedule your free consultation now at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Expires 10/31/2022.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Sometimes I get a good feeling.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. This portion of the program brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. If you haven't seen it already, man. Draymond Green at practice for Golden State. Apparently Jordan Poole called him called him something. I don't know what the specific terminology was. He got mad at Jordan Poole in practice because Poole called him the triple single after scoring on him. And Draymond Green took offense to it. As he was on the other side of the court, begins to walk onto the court, walk right up chest to chest, got in the face of Jordan Poole. When Jordan Poole pushed him away, Draymond Green ducked him and dropped him. So now you wonder if there was anybody else in that gym when that happened. But nevertheless, you wonder if Draymond Green, how long he's going to be suspended for. Draymond Green is just, he's a loose cannon, man. He talks about getting picked on and how the league, garners him and governs him too close, and then he does stuff like this. Everything that Draymond Green gets is warranted because of his actions. Just another, it's not even Draymond being Draymond. It's when is Draymond Green going to be slapped so hard that either you stop or you go away? The guy's got incredible talent, but again, because of his talent, he's allowed to do what he wants, and this is the kind of thing that happens. So we'll see what Steve Kerr and the Golden State management and ownership does to Draymond Green, and he's got nobody to blame for himself. Nobody blame. And yeah, you're right, Brett. Don't forget, Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr in the face, and Kerr ended up, was it a broken nose or broken jaw? I think it was a broken nose. And Kerr is the guy that now coaches Golden State. So you wonder how he's going to handle this. Jordan got away with it because he was Jordan. But also in today's day and age, that's not something you can do anymore. That's kind of like back in the day being in the bottom of a pile in the NFL and you're doing the nut punch and biting and all that kind of stuff today. That there's no way you can get away with that stuff. No way you can get away with that stuff. So it's a whole different it's a whole different culture. It's a different how do I put it? Governance, if you will. So Rick says, did you watch any of the last night's game? And how can the Broncos offense be so awful? This keeps Hackett. If this keeps in Hackett, might be a one and done. If this keeps up, I would assume is what you're saying. I don't think it'll be a one and done, but certainly Nathaniel Hackett's got his hands full. I agree. Now, I didn't. To answer your question, did I watch it? Yes, we were down here at the Norwegian Hollow last night and had a chance to watch the game a little bit. However, I didn't get a chance to watch it closely. Watch maybe a quarter. It's bad football. They were up. I think they were up 6-0 after a couple of field goals. First of all, let me say this: what an incredibly boring game, and I'm really kind of glad I didn't watch the whole thing. Ben, did you watch that game last night?
It was on when I was out at trivia. I got home and watched it until it went to overtime.
Yeah.
And I realized sleep is probably better for my body than whatever the hell that was.
I think both teams realized that too.
The fans did.
Yeah.
They left as overtime started. It was terrible. Russell Wilson, I don't know what's happened. And there's a big Kyle Brandt rant that came out this morning, calling him kind of a phony in terms of, he talks and walks the walk like he's the most famous and best person ever. Then he gets on the field and kind of a fraud at this point.
Yep. I would 100% agree. And there was a reason. There was a reason that it was pretty easy for Seattle to tell him goodbye. You know what I mean? They didn't really fight too hard to keep him. In the beginning, you're kind of like, yeah, we need a quarterback. He's good. He's in the system. And the question always was, is it the offensive line or is it Russell Wilson? And Russell Wilson kept complaining about the offensive line and about, how things were and not having time to throw in the downfield game, that he was hanging on to the ball too long. And, you can go through the whole myriad of things that that Russell Wilson complained about with their head coach, Pete Carroll. But they didn't fight too hard to keep him. It wasn't like when Aaron Rodgers said, I may not be coming back. The Packers were flying to his house. The president was flying to his house. The general manager was flying to his house. The head coach was flying to his house. They're doing anything. They're changing the culture. They knew what they had in Rodgers. Seattle, they're like, you know what? This might be the best thing for everybody. Let's get rid of this guy now while we can get something for him. And they did. Maybe they saw this. The dropping off of skills. You get a couple of picks like that. What'd they get? PacFan says it was easy because they moved on a couple of firsts, 2 seconds, and like 4 players in the trade. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they looked at this and went, you know what? We're getting a haul for a guy who's problematic and really, we're starting to see it's not that good anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's totally the case because it could be Nathaniel Hackett. It could be the play calling. It could be, the personnel they have around them. But they have some pretty solid players in Denver. It's not like they don't. Now, I know they've had a couple of injuries, but Denver, I mean, remember when we had our buddy on, Eric, God, I can't think of his last name.
Goodman.
Eric Goodman. Thank you very much. We had Eric Goodman on from Mile High Sports, and he was saying, look, they got Jerry Jeudy. They got KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton. They're ready to go. All they need is a good quarterback. They believe their run game was going to be solid. Melvin Gordon, Mike Boone, they felt like they had some good mixes there. Decent tight end, even though the Billy Turner's been hurt and Quinn Minor's been hurt as well. Their offensive line's been kind of a jumble because Billy Turner at the right tackle has been banged up, and so is Garrett Bowles over at the left tackle. So they've had to go with kind of a patchwork offensive line. But for the most part, their defense they thought was pretty solid. Bradley Chubb they felt was playing pretty good. Patrick Surtain, the second, was playing pretty good. They felt like they had some good guys up front. All they needed was a quarterback, and they're ready to go. And then they pick up Russell Wilson because remember, Eric Goodman was the guy that said, I'm glad we got Russell Wilson. We didn't get the head case that is Aaron Rodgers. And now, look at what's happened. You know, Rodgers is trying to get it done with guys that are relatively unfamiliar with NFL play, much less the system. And he's got some guys out there, Russell Wilson does, and understandably the offensive line is banged up, but they can't move the football. And Russell Wilson's just running and winging it. And they just can't move the football. There's no rhythm to that. None of it. It's funny because did you see the Deadspin post today that said that the question was this the worst primetime football game ever? That's how bad last night was as a yawner. Oh, it was bad. I agree. Like I said, I didn't watch the whole game. I was imbibing last night. Ben, I'm getting too old for this. I really am, just so you know. So,
you and me both.
Yeah. Last night was we started out at the golf course. We went back to the golf course. And then we ended up down here at the Norwegian Hollow last night. And they had a $1 beer night down here last night. So it was I was wet.
What?
I was wet last night. I was drinking.
God.
I was drinking heavily. I didn't wet my pants. I just said I was immersing myself in the beverages.
I peed myself. I couldn't help it.
Paul says even Al Michaels sounded bored last night. I bet. Most people said they turned it off. Turned it off after the third quarter, much like you. I would agree. This portion of the program being brought to you by our good friends over there at, by the way, not only is Sloppy Joe's and Social House and Boondocks and Stoley's, everybody, Stenny's, all of our big sponsors that are our bars in the Milwaukee area. But just to let the folks know out here, the Norwegian Hollow is also going to open up on Sunday morning early, and they're going to be serving breakfast before the game. So come on down to the Norwegian Hollow here as well and hang out. So our friends at Boondocks, they're going to open up early. Stoley's Hog Alley, Stoley's Old 109. They're going to do it over at Smoke on the Water, Social House, like I had mentioned, Sloppy Joe's, Stenny's for sure. So a lot of our bars and restaurants that do a good job of sponsoring, even over at the Nice Ash. The Cigar Bar is going to open up in Waukesha. That's going to be open early for the Packers game as well. Everybody's opening up early for an all-day fun fest when it comes to football. So you got the early game with the Packers, you got noon kickoffs, and then you got 3:30 kickoffs. And if you're a trooper and you're still standing upright with all of that, then you still got the Sunday night game in a lot of these places as well. So it's an all-day football affair coming up on Sunday with a lot of our great sponsors, as I had just mentioned. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick break. This portion of the Bill Michaels Show also brought to you by our friends at Bud Light and Bud Light Seltzer. We got more after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This fall, it's Give and Take at Potawatomi. Thursday nights, give yourself a shot at winning slot play or up to $5,000. And with 60 winners each week, you've got a good chance to take home your share of over $400,000 in prizes. Just play with your club card October 1st through November 17th for entries. The Give and Take Game Show, each Thursday and only at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. More at pacebig.com/give and take. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Our friends over there at Forgotten Fire Winery also want to remind you that they're open anytime. You can pop one open of theirs anytime. Even early on a Sunday morning if you choose to do so. That's Forgotten Fire Winery. They're in Peshtigo. They got some stuff going on this weekend, but if you're going to stop into your local wine store, liquor store, grocery store, you can look for it by name. That's ForgottenFireWinery.com. That's ForgottenFireWinery.com. They have a lot of different events going on up in their area as well in Peshtigo. And they've got some music coming up on the weekends. They usually have some food flowing up there as well. But they always have some type of a part. And it's a winery. It's not even huge. It's just a small local winery that just enjoys having fun. It's a great place to go. Check out the fall, and the colors are starting to change too. Ben, are you a colors guy?
Oh, I like colors. Yeah,
Do
there's
you-
some
do you-
colors I like.
Do you like, other than the green for the money, making it rain when you're going to the club? No, I mean, do you go out? Do you take rides and stuff and do the color thing and the trees and all that kind of stuff?
I'm a big fan of fall golf for that reason.
Okay,
I can't say I take many rides. I don't have a motorcycle.
Well,
and
no, just
I
to drive in general. Just you get outside. You go out, past Middleton or something like that.
I mean, I spend much of my time in this room that I'm sitting in right now, so
right.
I can't say there's much time for that during the day.
I would say,
but I
to
play
go out
golf
now
and
to
I
go
get my
collect some of
fix.
the more colorful leaves that are on the trees out and about in the area out there, just outside, and just having tape them to the wall. So at least you have something to look at.
I have something to look at.
Okay.
I'm watching The Price is Right, or I'm not
Stop
watching
it.
but it's on.
Are you really?
Oh yeah.
Is that now that's
Oh,
Drew,
it's
Drew
terrible.
Carey is still hosting that, correct?
I wish I could tell you.
Okay.
I would assume
he has
so.
morphed himself numerous times into different looking people. So I don't know if that's still him or not. Because he used to be kind of the jolly, funny, chunky guy, and then he got skinny, and he was still pretty funny. Don't get me wrong, but then he got skinny, and then he morphed. He changed his hair color and glasses, and it just changed. He just kind of grew into something different. I don't even know who does it now. So anyway.
They should do The Price is Right, but for quarterbacks that are paid way too much money to suck. Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah.
The list goes on and on.
Well, Kirk
Derek
Cousins
Carr.
at least gives you the stats. At least Kirk Cousins can. Last year he played pretty well through probably 2/3 of the season. But the rest of that, Matt Ryan. What happened to Matt Ryan? He got beat in the Super Bowl, and he just fell off the table. Matt Ryan's not even close to being a good quarterback, and he has a run game. Now, Jonathan Taylor's been banged up, but he's got a run game. You figure that whole scenario, especially with Frank Reich, who's such a decent coach, and Matt Ryan might get him fired because of the expectations. So Matt Ryan he was the favorite son of Atlanta. And God, now you can't get an old 3-legged dog with one eye in trade for him. Nobody do that,
Hey, there's a Super Bowl winner right behind him on the roster if they want to win some games.
Nick Foles all day, man.
Yes,
Ben
indeed.
Kenny's God.
And listen, they had Jack Cohn.
Who else did you
They
go
had
through?
Jack Cohn during the preseason.
Oh, I
and
know.
they decided to cut him. He could probably start for their
wasn't
team.
Jack Cohn going to be the savior for all when he ended up getting developed so incredibly well down there at Notre Dame?
Oh, that's unnecessary. I'd say Paul Chryst developed him. If you want to go there.
Oh, my goodness. I don't want to go down that path. Who else did you say? What other quarterbacks that are way overpaid?
Matt Stafford.
Matthew.
At this point, he's kind of hurt.
Well, yeah, but Matthew Stafford, they went all in and won a Super Bowl. They can
Derek
live
Carr.
on now for the next couple of years. Derek Carr. I've always thought I've always thought Derek Carr was decent. I never thought he was going to ascend to greatness. Mike Clemens,
Kyler Murray.
I remember years ago had said, hey, pay attention to this Derek Carr guy. He's pretty good, and he's been pretty good. He's just always been. He's like he's a rich man's Andy Dalton. He's better than Dalton, but he's not on the same level as a lot of other quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, yet another guy. He's only a couple of years into the league, but another guy that plays half to 3/4 of a season and all of a sudden just disappears. So he has yet to put it all together, but he whined and bitched and moaned enough to get all the money and a great big deal. Now we'll see if he's actually got the stones to back it up. That's another one that I would say is overpaid. I'd agree with you there.
There's a certain sexual predator in Cleveland that shouldn't be getting paid.
Yeah,
that is.
That's
kind of goes without saying.
That's a whole other category of loser, so to speak. But I agree with. Yeah, it's you start to think about some of the quarterbacks in this league that are being paid astronomical amounts of money and haven't. Kirk Cousins has one win in the postseason, right? They beat New Orleans a couple years ago.
Yes,
he's got one win in the postseason. That's it, and he gets guaranteed money. He's bet on himself. Hey, if you can do it, you can get it. Get it. I'd do it. I've never won in the postseason. He's got one more win in the postseason than I do. I think I should get at least a couple of $1 million for standing on the sidelines and holding a clipboard. But yeah, you look at some of these guys that are being paid an astronomical amount of money. I think Matthew Stafford's a good quarterback. I just think he's still ailing. That whatever they could not find, whatever the problem was in that elbow, they say it's fine. But if you watched him throw, he's not fine. You know, it's kind of like watching Christian Yelich say, "I'm fine, no big deal," and watching him try to throw a baseball from left field to a third base, to the third baseman to make a play. I've seen kids coming out of kindergarten that throw better. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of those overpay. And Russell Wilson, unless something happens or he's comes up ailing or something, Russell Wilson just looks bad. It's like, how far and fast off the table did you fall, Cat? Just looks bad. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and do so. When we come back, we're going to talk with Matt Mitchell of the Action Network about the spreads coming up this weekend. We have made our picks, Ben and I. We made our picks yesterday. But we're going to talk about some of the betting aspects and some of the things. If you're one of these guys, man, you want to throw some ducats down on it, we'll give you some information when we come back. So stay tuned for that, and we'll chat about that. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show broadcasting live down here at the Norwegian Hollow. We are in Viroqua here again today. Going to be here today during the show, and then heading over to Gassers later on this afternoon, Kickapoo Creekside after the fact then. And then at some point tonight, we're going to make our way back to the hotel and then make our way back home tomorrow. But tonight, we have fun. Tonight, we party. Tonight, we drink. We have a good time. Going to go ahead and take a quick break. We got more after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
It's the Packers and the New York Giants. Sunday morning at 8:30 Wisconsin time from Tottenham Stadium in London. Matt LaFleur asked if anyone on the Packers staff has had time to inspect the field there.
No. And this is the first time going over there that will be on field turf. It's grass, yes.
Is the surface field turf? Tottenham plays on grass, don't they? Did they replace it for this
Did you
game?
watch the game last week? Obviously not. Yes, it's field turf.
LaFleur has been kind of testy all week. The Packers will face perhaps the best running back in the NFL, Saquon Barkley. Packers defensive coordinator Joe Barry on what he told his players about Barkley.
He's like 5.5, I think, per carry right now. Phenomenal player, phenomenal talent. He's got all the he's explosive, he's big. They do a great job with him throwing the ball as well. You know, they find ways to get him the ball, not just turning around and handing it. He's the best in our business right now, statistically. So he's just an all-round complete back. It's got to be a collective group effort this week because you can't tackle that guy with one person. It's got to be, population to the ball. Unbelievable player, unbelievable talent.
Saquon says he wants to be the best in the NFL.
As a competitor, I don't just got to be a guy like Jonathan Taylor when we played Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. Those are two extremely talented backs. Every week for me, you're really competing against yourself, to be completely honest. At the end of the day, for me, I'm just trying to go out there and just perform at a high level.
That's Giants running back Saquon Barkley. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Good to have you back. Reminder that our friends at J&L Tire Service right on 94, north of 94 at the Johnson Creek exit, always there for your needs, whether it's the minivan or if you're driving an over-the-road rig. They can help you out there as well. So that's our friends from J&L Tire Service, brake service, full automotive service, whatever it is you need. Check out Lyle and the gang. And don't forget, they are very philanthropic when it comes to the community as well. So there you have it. Let's do this. Let's bring in now our guy, Matt Mitchell from the Action Network. You can find him over on Twitter as well. Matt, how you doing today, buddy?
It is a Friday in October, Bill. We're in the rich nougaty center of the sports betting calendar.
Okay, before we get into the NFL, give me your thoughts on baseball and the series upcoming, because we've got obviously more than a few games. You got the Rays and the Guardians, Phillies and Cardinals, Mariners, Blue Jays, San Diego, the Padres and the Mets. Let's talk about them real quick. So give me your thoughts on who's coming out of those four series.
Bill, I'm ecstatic as a Mariners fan. I haven't watched a playoff baseball game since I was 16. I had to watch it in the back seat of a 99 Plymouth Breeze in my parents' driveway because the car had the only digital tuner and we didn't have cable. But I digress. Our team at Action Network likes the Phillies a great deal over St. Louis in this series. Big bullpen disadvantage for Philadelphia, negated by the fact that it's only a 3-game series. Phillies, huge advantage over left-handed pitchers. Zach Wheeler, by far the best starter in Game 1. So a lot of excitement about the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets getting a lot of excitement, kind of an opportunity to buy low on them after the horrendous way they finished the season. But that is kind of where the Action Network is looking right now. A lot of excitement about the Rays, the Phillies, and the Mets.
So first of all, the Phillies, I'm sure at this point in time, Ben Kenny is dancing in his underwear in the studio, knowing that you're picking the Phillies. So he's giddy about that. And then once we get down to the Yankees and the Dodgers jumping into play, give me some thoughts there as well.
Those two teams are going to be mispriced in the market because they're so popular. They're perceived as so dominant. They're, of course, the World Series favorites. So I think if you are interested in betting those games, betting against them is the better financial play, even if the watching experience might be a miserable one against those offenses.
There you go. Then also you have the Astros and the Braves, which I digress because I do have to mention both. The Astros, obviously, the win total in the American League, even though the Yankees get so much of the press. But don't sleep on the Astros. They've been there, done that before, with or without the cheating devices, so to speak.
That's right. They're a dangerous team, and they are currently the AL favorite. They're plus 175 to win the pennant, a slight favorite over the Yankees. And if it was up to me, I would bet with my money on the team that's been there before. Like you said, I'd take Houston.
All right, let's get into the NFL. Some of the games. So give me some of the games that you like that may be a little odds different this week. If I'm looking for a bet where I'm going, I don't know if I trust that point spread, give me a few.
There are two that jump out in that regard. One is we are seeing a tremendous amount of well-respected professional betting money coming in on the New York Jets at home against the Miami Dolphins. Nobody gets excited about betting this Jets team, but they're catching a field goal, 3.5. It's bouncing back and forth, which is surprising. But yeah, not a lot of respect for Teddy Bridgewater as a favorite in this one. A lot of murkiness around the Dolphins as a franchise at the moment. So the New York Jets are one. And another that jumps out to me is San Francisco against the Panthers. There's tons of trends that point to Carolina here. San Francisco off a great primetime win. They're on short rest. They're flying coast to coast. I don't care about any of that. Coach Matt Rule's Carolina team is completely inept. He's unlikely to make it through the whole season. His team appears to be quitting on him, and his offense couldn't score 21 points if this game had 8 quarters. So betting against a team that can't score is very fun. And most importantly, since his debut in 2018, Baker Mayfield is the least profitable quarterback against the spread. Out of 103 quarterbacks, he's performed terribly, but people still love betting on him, which is why you'll see games like this still under a touchdown. So I think San Francisco and the Jets are two that jump out, in addition to the Ravens, who I feel like everyone is on this week.
Yeah, let me ask you this regarding the Jaguars and the Texans. Jacksonville given 7, but the Texans, short of the last week's 10-point win or 10-point loss, the Texans have kept every game relatively close. They fight, but they just don't have enough in them to get there. Is 7 too big for Jacksonville?
I think it is. And I think that's a game, too, where you could buy the hook. You know, you could get 7.5 for minus 125, minus 130. But even game last week, they were in it right to the very end. The Chargers had to score at the end to make it look like it was a bigger win than it was. A Lovie Smith team, you know, they love to keep it respectable. They're not going to win, but they can cover a larger number like this. And I don't think Jacksonville's the kind of team that should be in a division game like this, be laying a full touchdown.
Then obviously we're looking at the game across the pond, the early one. Packers have an 8-point favorite. Daniel Jones is going to play, but apparently nobody else is. His wide receiving core is decimated with injuries. I don't know how they score points to begin with. I got the Packers winning 27-13. So a 14-point spread, Packers given 8. Sound reasonable?
Yeah, it sounds very reasonable. Everyone on this Giants team is hurt. Daniel Jones' ankle's not working. They got no one to catch the ball. They're a total disaster for all the problems the Packers have. Favorites across the pond have been a very profitable proposition since we started doing these games, and I couldn't blame anybody for laying it with the Packers this week.
I want to go back to something you said. You talked about the Bengals and the Ravens secondary sucks. We know that. Lamar Jackson's obviously an incredible talent, but the over and under on this is more intriguing to me. Sitting at 48, God, I got to think this game more like 27, 24, 30, 25, something like that. I think I bet the over on this, wouldn't you?
Well, that's an interesting angle. I hadn't considered that. The big thing here is it's a huge get-up spot for the Ravens. They have a tremendous amount of revenge after the Bengals beat up on a totally decimated Baltimore team last year. They're at home, off a loss in prime time. Lamar Jackson has never lost a game off a home loss, 6-0 in that spot. 9 straight Bengals games have gone under, and some of that high-flying offense we saw last year appears to maybe have dissipated. And, we've got a huge coaching mismatch here between John Harbaugh and Zach Taylor. So I think this points to Ravens every which way, and they might be able to put up a big number against Cincinnati. They certainly are capable of that. I think it's more a matter of, will the Bengals hold up their end of the bargain with a total that high?
Matt, is there a lock, something that you're looking at going, oh, yeah, this is a done deal? Is it the Pittsburgh Steelers being completely inept right now and Buffalo beating the hell out of them up there, giving 14?
Go Bills, but I will say it's New England to Detroit under. Detroit has the highest scoring offense in the NFL right now. They're perceived as a team that can put up a huge number. Bill Belichick owns Jared Goff. He beat him so bad in the Super Bowl, Jared Goff had to change teams, leave town, and he'll never recover. Belichick, if they're going to grind this game to a fine powder, it's going to be a terrible game to watch. Doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for New England. I think this game is going to be a snoozer. Take the under 46.
Matt, great stuff, man. Appreciate it as always, pal.
Good luck, everybody, this weekend.
There you go. Talk to you soon. Matt Mitchell over the Action Network. You can read his stuff there. Really, really good betting stuff. Got 1 hour down. Got a lot more to go this portion of the program. And the betting portion brought to you by our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Go to PaysBig.com. That is PaysBig.com for all that they have to offer to October Best. October Best. Go to the website for all the details. More to come next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
The Green Bay Packers have landed in London. They're there for the NFL's International Series. They'll be taking on the New York Giants Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur's Arena, and tight end Robert Tonyan talks about the matchup.
I mean, it is exciting to go over there. You're seeing a new country, and you don't want to be distracted, but you kind of want to see stuff. But just trying to stay in as much of a routine as possible as you would be over here or any other away game. Just obviously you're across the pond.
With the Packers averaging just 18.8 points per game, that's good for 21st in the league. Robert Tonyan talks on the Packers finding their offense.
I think just a lot of young, new guys and people finding new roles. And I wouldn't say finding our identity, but I just think just figuring it out. And, we're grateful to be in the 3-1 spot. Our defense is playing well. And it's not that we're playing bad. I just think that people are just kind of finding their niche and getting comfortable with the offense.
Kickoff is Sunday morning at 8:30.
Your work-life balance is important to you, and Sutton Transport agrees. Sutton Transport offers a 5-day work week, same start times daily, and you'll be home nightly and weekends. Sutton Transport is now hiring CDL drivers. Enjoy some of the best benefits in the industry, consistent year-round work, twice-a-year wage increases, and enjoy your family time you deserve. That is work-life balance. The road to success is with Sutton Transport. Apply online at suttontrans.com.
Wisconsin football is looking for their first win in the Big Ten this Saturday when they're in Evanston to take on the Northwestern Wildcats. Running back Braylon Allen talks about the week from the firing of Paul Chryst to the game upcoming.
It's really on us. We didn't execute. We didn't play the football that we needed to play. This is a consequence of that. So I guess moving forward, you just got to use it as fuel, like Coach Leonard has said, and put your head down, keep moving forward. We still have a goal. This doesn't change our goal by any means. It's just got to be the same thing moving forward.
Kickoff is tomorrow at 2:30. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome. Good to have you. We are back in Viroqua again today. We are here at the Norwegian Hollow, and enjoying
I was
ourselves.
wet last night.
Had a good time here last night, and back at it again this morning. And today we are going to be here until 2. We're going to be at Gasser's today. Gasser's Bar and Grill after this, and then from there we're going to be down Kickapoo Creekside, and I don't know where else we're going after that, to be honest with you. It is what it is. By the way, We talked about this a little while ago. If you haven't seen the video already of Draymond Green going after Jordan Poole in practice and then basically knocking him out, drilling him right in the face. And I said, it's kind of gutless if they don't suspend him. People are actually defending it. That's what's so astounding to me. Are we to this point where this is the society of, let them go, no big deal. Oh, you can't punish. And then all of a sudden when it happens to you, you're the first one to scream, oh my God, I can't believe they're not in jail for this. I don't understand. If you've watched every circumstance is different. That I agree with. Look, if guys are pushing and shoving and they're grinding and they start scrapping on the floor, football players are different only for the fact that it's such a physical sport. You're supposed to beat up on the other guy across from you. And if they get into a scrap, usually there's not being, punches aren't thrown. It's guys pushing and shoving and such. You usually don't have an Aaron Donald walking away with somebody's helmet and swinging it wildly like a weapon. Football is different than basketball. Baseball is different than basketball and football. But this was a guy that has had a reputation for being a hothead, walked over and slugged a teammate right in the face. They weren't like chest to chest or guarding one another, defensively pushing and shoving, and frustrations boiled over. This was one guy who scored on another guy and caught him, I don't know, what was it, triple single or something like that. And it was, he got upset by it, came over and slugged the guy right in the face.
I believe it has to do with a contract and Poole's attitude towards a new contract.
Yeah.
That's something that's been written about. I don't know about that comment. I haven't seen that out there.
I don't know about the comment specifically, but I'm only basing it off of what I've seen reported, we'll say. But I'm like, oh, okay. But you condone this? First of all, we're talking about a guy, he got punched into a wall and guy could have fallen back, hit his head. I'm sorry, you just can't allow that. As egregious as it was. And this is Draymond Green. This is not his first time being a hothead and just going off. How much, he's the team's not going to suspend him, so who cares? I think he should be, but that's my opinion. Not every fight warrants suspensions. This one does. And this is a guy that has been a repeat offender when it comes to just going off on people, whether it's players or whomever, coaches on the floor. He's been, slapped numerous times by the NBA for just going beyond the line of good sportsmanship, so to speak. And he acts like he's being picked on. This is why he gets picked on. Am I wrong? Am I off here, Ben? Am I missing something that this is supposed to be okay?
No, I don't think you are. I'm trying to wrap my head around it and how the Warriors are going to instill discipline. Like, I think Draymond will end up playing. I don't know how that locker room rebounds. I don't know how you can defend Draymond. I will say Draymond hosts a podcast. It's probably going to make for some good ratings on that, but I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of his. I respect what he does to win and how much he has won, but I've never liked the antics.
I love Sean Merriman, who says Draymond Green did not sucker punch anybody. Poole pushed him. Sean Merriman, obviously a player that was in the NFL, he can't be that stupid.
This is like the Juwan Howard thing.
Yeah, he walked across the floor and got into his chest and his face and was nose to nose. Of course you're going to push somebody away. He didn't push him going after him. He pushed him because he to get away, get out of my face. And that's when Draymond punched the guy. I find it like, how stupid can people be? That's embarrassing. That really is. That's embarrassing. Sean Merriman, I thought, would be better than that. Obviously, he's not. I just, I don't know. I don't know. Don't get it. Yeah, I mean, Chris says getting in somebody's face is normal. It's just a typical day. Chest bumping, relatively normal. Pushing somebody is tough to defend. Draymond's actions are tough to defend as well. Keep it in-house. The leaked video also is BS. Now, that's interesting. So I wonder who leaked the video. I wonder if, because there have been times when fans come in. They bring in fans and they bring in sponsors, and you get a chance to stand up top and watch because the Bucks do it. You come on in, watch practice. You know, they bring people through, and fans get to use video cameras and stuff. Everybody's got a camera, you know, on their phone, so you get to use video. So I don't necessarily think it was. I mean, it may turn out to be. I don't know, but to act as if it was just in house and there was nobody else in the room, I don't know if that's true or not. Because they do bring in fans and sponsors and bystanders and such that can come in and watch practice for a little bit, just, you know, running through drills or whatever, just because I've been a part of that. I've seen it. So I don't necessarily want to all of a sudden blow out the film guy because of this, because you don't know if he did it or not. You don't know if this was leaked from the team or if it was leaked by somebody who said, I had my camera rolling. Did you see that? And then they post it. And then all of a sudden it comes out. They just happen to have the camera at the right time. So anyway, but I digress. I didn't want to go too long on that. But yeah, that's the video that's making the rounds today. And we bring it up because Jordan Poole is from the area. You know, that's kind of, you know, our guy, so to speak. He's from this Milwaukee area. So anyway, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up there? You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Find us over on Facebook fan page, simply facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. Over on YouTube, a great way to watch the program on the daily. You can find us there, and YouTube is simply youtube.com/The Bill Michaels Show, or excuse me, Bill Michaels Show, just Bill Michaels Show. You can find us there as well. And we thank you for subscribing as we continue. We're approaching 2,500 people. We got 2,438 people that have subscribed to the show that watch it on the daily. That's awesome. Appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. So there you go. What else do we got coming up today, Ben? We're going to hear a lot from inside the locker room. Darnell Savage Jr., Robert Tonyan. We got a lot going on in that sense. Preston Smith. So we're going to hear from all those guys coming out of the locker room. Mike Clemens joining us in the final hour of the show today, as he always does. So there's a lot happening today. We have any picks or anything today? Am I missing something today, Ben? I feel like I'm missing something today.
No, I think you're good. I mean, predictions for the weekend. It's kind of, maybe my brain is just more Wisconsin Badger wired naturally.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in how the game looks. The Packers game, like, how do they play in London and all that? But they're the better team, and I think they'll be good the rest of the year. When it comes to the football in our state this weekend, the Badger game, it interests me at every level, how they come out and how they look, because Northwestern is one of the worst teams in the country.
Right.
Yeah. Well, does the slide continue? Does Leonard look good? It's so interesting.
Here's the question. I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but here's the question. What are you looking for out of the Badgers? Okay, that's easy to say. By the way, complicated fella and Pac fan and everybody want to know if Mike's over in London. No. This is the only game that we are not traveling to. And here's the reason why. I'll go over that first. We do a lot of things in season and all throughout the season, all throughout the year, as a matter of fact. And the bottom line is money. You know, it's quite a bit to start sending people over there as a smaller company. We do a lot of things that others don't do. We go to spring training. We go to Super Bowl. We go to all over to cover the games, do the shows. We do a lot of stuff with charity where we take charity winners and such with us. So we had to make a decision financially just because of the program. I mean, if we had one sponsor that ponied up 10 grand and said, hey, we'd love to send you, then it's great. We'd love to go. But not only is it just a matter of getting on a plane, it's then the logistics of getting yourself set up wherever and getting yourself all the internet lines and all the equipment over. And it's just, you know what? I'd rather sit home on Sunday morning and watch the game like the rest of you, do the post-game show, give us your reaction, give you our reaction, and then be able to be home and ready to go come Tuesday, Wednesday again when the Packers are back at practice and start covering up in Green Bay. So we got a lot going on locally, and we're going to be traveling again, and others don't. We'll be down in Chicago with a group of charity winners for the Chicago Bears game, the Packers and the Bears game. We're taking people to the House of Blues for an event, and I think we've got 6 of them that we got tickets for. And so sometimes you make a decision, and that's the reason we decided not to go. We wanted to, but it's like, I'd much rather be out in Phoenix, Arizona, sitting on Radio Row. I'd much rather be at spring training for a week, you know, talking to players and giving you the updates as the Brewers trying to patch it all back together and make another run at the division. all the different places that we travel to. I'd rather do that and keep that local grassroots thing than make it all, one big pot of gold, so to speak, and send us across the pond for 4 days and kind of blow your wad there. So that's the reason we chose not to. Hopefully you understand that. Speaking of that, though, the Green Bay Packers today, management, former players, sponsors, fans, they're all on did you see them on the double-decker bus today, Ben, traveling through London?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah. I saw Nick Collins is on the bus. The newly inducted into the Hall of Fame, Leroy Butler, is on the bus. Packers president Mark Murphy is on the bus. So they are traveling all throughout London and waving to fans in a bus that is completely decked out in Packers-esque wrapping. It's been completely wrapped. It's a double-deck upper-tier bus that's been wrapped, and they're making the rounds around town and getting cheers, and the fans are going crazy. So it's kind of cool. Kind of cool, actually, to see. Wish we were there, but, again, that's the reasons why we're not. Going back to the contest this weekend, I think we said it yesterday. Don't you want to see this team come out with energy and sustainable fight for 4 quarters and not look like they've given up?
I think that is definitely step one. It's really defensively more than anything, because I don't know how Leonard is going to fix the offense and what really the staff can do. Really, it's all of Paul Chryst guys. It's what can Leonard do with his unit, his defense, and bring that fight. I'm with you.
That's what I'm looking for. More than anything, I'm looking to see if they still have fight. Because at this point in time, to each a man, you walk around the locker room and you're asking for pride. Pride in what you do, pride in who you are, pride in your teammates, pride in your organization, pride in your school, whatever, That's what you're going there for. That from here on out is what you're asking of the players. No matter what the mood, it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard. It's hard to say, oh, no big deal. We got our coach fired. We're good, But that's what you're kind of being asked to do at this point. It's how you respond. Sometimes teams that do have a firing, you get a bit of a spark, and that spark can lead to bigger and better things in the short term. And sometimes teams just take that as an opportunity to say, you know what, season's over. We're heading down. We're done. But this might be the best opponent to face in the most adverse situations, because you don't traditionally win in Evanston, but it's an easier team to beat, to where you can go down and really start to look good again. And maybe, just maybe, you go down, you're pissed off, you impose your will, and you come away with a win where a lot of other Badger teams have not won, even in good years. And you can come home and say, okay, we've got something here. We've got something to pound our chest with. That's what I'm hoping for, if that makes sense.
I think it's a good opponent to play because they're terrible. I wonder, how does a team get energy? It's from a home crowd. Even if you play in a hostile environment, you could feed off the road crowd and look forward to shutting them up. Playing in the sleepiest environment in college football, I don't know how that'll affect the energy or lack thereof this team plays with.
That's
or
what
in
I'm
the
saying.
second half.
I
It's
agree.
a dogfight. So they need to bring their own juice, if you will,
Yep.
to steal a saying that we've heard. But I still think I'd rather see them play in a more hostile, legit road environment. But the team they're playing will help because they suck.
Exactly. That's the reason I bring up the energy thing, and you said it better than I did, because you're playing in a sleepy environment. If you bring the energy and the can of ass whoop and you do your job in a very, like you said, sleepy environment, then you can say, okay, that's exactly what I wanted to see out of that team today. Because you're not going to get the energy from the crowd. You're not going to get it from the atmosphere. You're not going to get it from traveling fans that come with you. You're not going to get that. What you're going to have to do is kind of generate your own. That's the reason. That's the reason when you look at this that I say, if you see that level of energy coming out of the Badgers, that's not a bad way to go. That's not a bad way to go. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get back into this discussion. Quick Trip, the Packers opening drive sweepstakes. They've got it. Purchase any of Quick Trip's fully guaranteed gasolines with Quick Rewards, and you are entered. It's that simple. At the pump, you put in your Quick Rewards number, which is basically your phone number. Start pumping the gas. You're automatically registered. Each week, one weekly winner is going to win $10 gas card, $10 per every yard earned on the Packers opening drive. How about that? Quick Trip, a proud partner of Packers football and a big-time supplier of my breakfasts, for lack of a better term. I was in there today, and always, I stopped in. I got a Red Bull this morning. I was dragging a little bit. Red Bull, breakfast sandwich, big greeting. Hey, how you doing? Great place. Love it. Good to go. That's from our friends at Quick Trip. Stay tuned. We got more after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you on a Friday. Man, it feels like a Friday, too. Actually, it feels like a Saturday morning. I wish I was watching some football this morning. Sitting here in the Norwegian Hollow. TV's on. Enjoying the day. I feel like I should be drinking already. I think the last hour of the show could get weird, Ben. I really do. Just so you know.
Interesting.
I might.
Has it not been weird in the past?
No, Fridays are always a little strange, but I'm sitting in a bar on a Friday. The last hour, I think I'm good to go at that point. I think I could probably maybe have one for myself and for you.
Well, the Phillies' first pitch is at 1:07. So if you want to see an
out.
emotional breakdown on air, you should check in with me around 1:26.
So you're checking out. That's it for Ben.
I'll be engaged, but boy, could it go downhill fast.
This portion of the program brought to you by Cunis RV, Wisconsin's fastest growing RV dealer. They carry all types, all kinds, consignment, new and used. They've got it, but you gotta call them or check it out. Go to Cunis, Kunes, CunisRV.com. That is CunisRV.com. See my buddy Scott Reamer down there in the one in Elkhorn. Scott's a great guy. We traveled to Sturgis with those guys, him and his girlfriend Michelle, and we had such a fun time. Oh my goodness. He's got a brand new customized CVO that he's ordering. So he's got his toys, man. And one of them was a really nice RV that they had alongside our RVs. So good stuff from our friends down there at Kunes, Kunes, CunisRV.com. Yeah, I would assume the last hour of the show, it might just be a couple of questions to Mike Clemens and just let him go, and go to break, take a drink, go to break, take a drink, call it a day. It's kind of where we're at.
I was wet last night.
I was. So, Ben, will you have anything at the bottom of the hour?
No.
We don't. Okay, the bottom of the hour, something happened yesterday. Can you guess what it was?
I would be so wildly off given the stories we've gotten recently. You're getting calls from dead people. The people at hotels you check into are hitting on you. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a strange dynamic, but something happened here yesterday, and I did not expect it, but it was a really cool experience. So I sent you a picture, and we'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. So I just sent it to you. We'll talk about it at the bottom of the hour. That's coming up. Kind of a cool day. This one is from Mark, who says it is a cool place. Down at Norwegian Hall. Yeah, absolutely. Cool place. Say hi to everybody down there for me. I get over that way often. I live in Prairie du Chien. Listen to the program every day. Are you coming back to Jim's Bar anytime soon? You know what? No, we got to figure out, and I know I've said this, Mary's Bluegill Bar put on such a great display last year for us. We got to get up there. I got to figure out a date that we could go and do the post-game show there. So we'll, you know what? I don't have the schedule sitting in front of me, but we'll try. We'll figure something out. But Prairie du Chien treated us so well. I mean, they closed down a whole street for us last year when we came down that way. So I would love to come back. We had so much fun. I would love to come back. Ben, everybody always asks why you don't travel with us. We got to get you out, man. I know somebody has to be back at the home base to push all the right buttons and such, but and to manage the idiocy that is me. But we got to get you out with us. You're becoming a presence, man, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I think so. Depends on the day,
Well,
if I'm known as the guy that is obsessed with Irish dance and scandals from youth sports, then I'm okay with that. It's a question of how the presence falls down.
I had a guy last night that walked up to me. We were at we got done at the golf course. I packed it up. I went back, picked Kristen up, and then we went back to the golf course where we did kind of a meet and greet thing from 4 to about 6. And a guy comes in. He's very quiet guy. He's just kind of listening to everybody's conversation. He comes in and he says, I got to tell you, love the program, love the interaction, love, when you and I banter back and forth. And he said, but when you and Ben talked about anal beads, I choked on the piece of chicken I was eating at the time. You almost killed me. And I didn't know whether to say I'm sorry or to say, well, glad to hear it. How do you respond to that?
That's okay. I don't think we're liable in the case that he would have died.
Well, that was the other thing. You're right. I never thought about the liability factor. Sometimes the fun and frivolity can get out of hand to the point where we're on the verge of killing somebody by getting choking on chicken. So I never thought of that possibility. We have to be careful with what it is we do. But he loved the program. He said he was very serious. Hand on shoulder, reaches over, has the hand out on my shoulder, and says, I choked on a piece of chicken. You almost killed me. And I had to look him in the eye and go, I was kind of half grinning, and part of me, I said, well, are you okay now? He said, oh, yeah, throat's a little scratchy, but I laughed so hard, I choked on a chicken. I figure it's better than choking the chicken, but I choked on the chicken. There you go.
I was having a conversation last night with a friend at trivia talking about the chess thing because the Wall Street Journal picked it up. It's in the mainstream. And I was explaining the situation. Then I sat back and wondered, do you have to explain where Hans Niemann put the anal beads, or is it already in the name?
Yeah, I think when that's in the name, you don't, that's like when people say assless chaps. Chaps are chaps. There's nothing in them anyway. So you don't have to add the additional adjective for impact. They're just chaps. We talked about this, right?
Yes, and I will say I don't know much about chaps, so the fact that we had to say that they were assless meant more to me.
Yeah.
my culture.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. You just look up chaps. Chaps are just things that, it's like a belt with protection that, leather protection usually that goes down over the legs, about mid-thigh down. There's, otherwise they're called leather pants. And nobody wants to see any of us wearing leather pants again. Leather's making a comeback. Now, leather pants for women, I'm all for it. Leather's making, especially the stretchy leather. Stretchy leather is making a comeback, and I'm all for that. Men don't need to be walking around in leather pants of any sort. It then harkens upon parachute pants after that, because then we go back to the 80s, and then all of a sudden, the worst look in the world would be walking around in the MC Hammer pants. It would not be bad for chunky guys, because then it gives you room. Gives you a little bit of breathability, and you don't have to stock up on the Gold Bond. But I am not in favor of MC Hammer pants ever coming back.
I feel like Russell Wilson is the leather pants guy.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers would be too. He'd wear the leather pants with those Prada gym shoes.
Now he can rock them though.
Yeah. Well,
he gets a pass.
And he would do it in like the cage look with the T-shirt. And I don't know about the backside of the hair because he doesn't have the long hair anymore. It's like his barber passed out and died halfway through the haircut. But yeah, so he could probably still do it. Tom Brady, no, that would be too much of the pretty boy look. He can't do that. He couldn't do it. There's certain people that can do it, but no, overall, in general, no man should ever wear leather pants.
Certainly, if you have a huge package.
Matt LaFleur agrees. By the way, Rick said, try getting sweaty leather pants off. I have enough trouble when I sweat in jeans. I can't imagine leather pants. Can't imagine it. Although my crotch would have that new car smell. That would not be a bad thing. All right. Something happened here yesterday. It was pretty cool, and I was extremely appreciative. Stay tuned. We got that coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gene Nadella in the title tones featuring Wayne Larrivee, Jason Wilde, and Mark Tauscher. Game Day Bus, take 47.
Let's all take the Game Day Bus to Titletown. Let's go.
Wayne, Tausch, Wilde, haven't you been practicing all year? What if I said Pella fans can get 0% interest for 48 months on any replacement project right now?
Yeah!
And there is your Pella.
Can he say that? Isn't that trademarked?
His paycheck for this says otherwise. Speaking of catchphrases, we call this the Pella Now Pay Later option. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin's experts stop by for an in-home consultation. They'll help you choose the perfect windows for your home. The installation is completed with no hassle or mess, leaving only perfect results while you put no money down. Make no payments and no interest for up to 4 years. Schedule your free consultation now at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Expires 10/31/2022.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Holla. That's where we are at down here in Viroqua. Had a great time, and always have a great time every time we come here. And I always say the same thing every time it's time to go, that I wish we had more time to stay. You know, it doesn't change things. I mean, it's a really cool community, to say the very least. Yesterday, Ben, I sent you the picture, and I'll post the picture and the proclamation and such. But yesterday, so we get off the air yesterday, and you know, Kristen, when she travels with me, she usually works, so she had to work yesterday. So I told Ernie, Ernie Betts out here, I said, Ernie, I got to go pick up Kristen. He's like, before you do that, we got to take one stop. Now, there have been times when you travel with Ernie that he'll say, hey, we need to make a stop. And it's usually visiting a friend or somebody who listens to the program every day. And I love those trips because then you get a chance to say hi to people that you would never get a chance to run into, or who can't make it at a certain time to come out and see an appearance or such. So I love it. And being in smaller communities like that, it's everybody knows everybody, you know? So yesterday, we packed up the equipment and we started driving down Main Street. And I was actually on the phone with Kristen at the time. I said, hey, I'm going to be coming to get you in a couple of minutes, so be ready. And she goes, okay, you want to take your time? You know, I said, she was working. I said, okay, well, I'll be up in that direction very shortly because we're going to go back to the golf course and have a drink or so and do a meet and greet from 4 to 6. And I thought, oh, no, we're going to the Agri Center, which we went to this morning. But I thought that was the direction we were going. We were going to turn down that street. But instead, we turned in the opposite direction. And very quickly, we made a right turn off of Main Street into the City Hall, where when we pulled into City Hall, there was a gathering of people. Probably, I don't know, I don't want to say it's 100, but probably 25, 30 people that were all standing out front. I'm thinking they were waiting, like, you know, a whole group of people were waiting to get into City Hall for whatever reason. And the City Hall, by the way, is brand new. They just finished completing the building, and they use the basement downstairs now as an authorized tornado shelter because they do have mobile communities here. So people have places to go. So a really neat facility, but all these people are standing out front. And then I started to recognize people. I recognized the owner of WVRQ and the radio station out here, and I recognized his son and other people that I've met before, and they're all standing there waiting for us to pull in. So as we pull in, they start to come walking towards my car, and they're all in front, right there by the front of the City Hall. And I got out, and we started talking, said hi to a few people, you know, which was kind of cool, and ended up they gave me the proclamation yesterday that the city of Viroqua recognized it as Bill Michaels Day, and gave me the key to the city and said thank you for the reach of this show and the opportunity to reach this show to tell the rest of the state and listeners from all over about a lot of the cool things that they have here, because it's a community of just over 4,000 people. It's not, a metropolis. And in smaller communities tend to get lost, among the bigger communities like Green Bay and Lambeau Field and Milwaukee and everything that goes on there with the Brewers and the Bucks and Summerfest and the big promotions in Madison and such as well, being the state capital, and the Badgers. And so the smaller communities that we reach appreciate it when we come there. And we get this in Rice Lake all the time, too, when we go to Rice Lake. Platteville, for that matter, Shawano, Clintonville, Tomahawk, and such, as it goes on. So yesterday, and I wish I would have known. I didn't know about it. I had no idea, none. This was happening. I wish I would have gotten the audio of it, but they read a proclamation out in front. We took some pictures. They gave me the giant key, and then they gave me a plaque. And I can't say thanks enough to the mayor, Justin Running, which is the new mayor. And he's trying to bring the town together. There was a lot of divisiveness, I guess, in the town. We had Representative Lauren Oldenburg was there, and he's such a great guy. He listens to the show all the time when he's driving between this area and then down to Madison and such. He says he listens all the time and really loves the fact that we talk about the smaller communities and about Viroqua in such a kind light. And so it was really cool. It was really cool. We had a really nice time yesterday, and they gave me the tour of the new City Hall, which is still being decorated. All the work that was done on it was done from workers within the state of Wisconsin. Some of the furniture and such and the materials and such are from right here in the area. I know the big conference table was carved out of one piece of wood by a woodworker right here in Viroqua, and it was Mastercraft right here in Viroqua. So just a really neat experience, and those things do not go unnoticed. We are certainly unbelievably appreciative. I don't do this program on my own. Ben has a huge hand in it, and does probably more than just about anybody. When it comes to the program, Midwest Family Broadcasting puts the program on. So there's a lot of people behind all of this rather than just my name. But I wanted to say thanks to everybody out here that was here yesterday and stopped by and was so appreciative of it. But yeah, they gave the key to the city yesterday, which was pretty cool. You got
That's awesome.
Yeah, I sent you the picture. I'll post it because I didn't know about it, so I didn't have any preparation. And what was supposed to happen. Now this was the faux pas. So I'm driving, and Ernie says, "Oh yeah, hey," because my first thought is, when you do this for a living, where's the cameras? And I'm not talking about media cameras. I'm talking about like ours for social media and things like that. Because this would be the thing that Kristen is all over. Everywhere I go, she's like, you got to get a picture. You got to take a picture here. Don't forget about this stuff. Because I'm not great at the promotion side of things sometimes. But she is. She's always reminding me. So I looked at Ernie and I said, well, where's Kristen? He's like, oh, she's going to get a ride over. I said, well, how? I've got the car. Ernie went, oh, I never thought of that. So Kristen's in the hotel room waiting to come over. Nobody went and got her. Nobody picked her up. She said she was going to Uber, but there is no such thing out here as Uber. So, she would have had to either walked or somebody picked her up. I think they have a cab company here, a small cab company. I'm not sure, but she was like, I just sat here because I didn't know how to get there. And she couldn't call me for a ride to tell me, because it was supposed to be a surprise. So she didn't get a chance to see it. So I don't have a ton of pictures, and the people that were there, hopefully will send them to me and we can post them a little bit later on. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I said, where's Kristen? He said, oh crap, we forgot. That's right. You got the car. I love Ernie. He cracks me up. So that's what happened yesterday. It was really cool. So good stuff. John, by the way, Hoots on the Water. John, I love Hoots on the Water up in Rice Lake. Every time they're so good to us. Every time we go to Rice Lake, they bring us those little Hoots chips for free drinks over there. Love Hoots on the Water. I've used, out of the 5 or 6 that I have, I think I've used 3 of them now. So I still have some in my pocket. When next time I come back to Rice Lake, we'll stop by Hoots for sure. So that was it. So thanks to everybody yesterday. Justin Running, the mayor here, obviously State Representative Lauren Oldenburg, and everybody that was a part of that ceremony yesterday. We certainly appreciate it. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. We got a lot more to get to. Top of the hour, we got more stuff to get to as well. Hang in there. More of the Bill Michaels Show live out here at the Norwegian Hollow in Verroca. We'll be back right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers host the 3-1 New York Giants in London. The game will be aired this Sunday morning at 8:30 on the NFL Network. We'll have post-game coverage and take your phone calls after the game. Packers defensive back Jair Alexander had full participation in the team's final practice in Green Bay before they boarded their transatlantic flight last night. Jair recovering from a groin injury from 2 weeks ago. I asked defensive back Eric Stokes how he thought former Jaguar Rudy Ford did, filling in for Adrian Amos at safety after he went down with a concussion against New England.
Man, Rudy did amazing. Pretty much like we already knew what pretty much Rudy can do coming from Jacksonville too. Like he was unbelievable down there as well. To where we got a guy like that and continue to just show everybody like why he's more than just a special team person. Why he can really play safety.
On offense, the discussion continues on who should be playing on the offensive line. For Green Bay, is it Josh Nijman or Elton Jenkins at right tackle? Offensive coordinator Adam Stedovich says, for now, it's Jenkins.
Right now, I think Elton's, for us, best at right tackle. For him, it's the challenge of, left tackle or right tackle. You're going to be playing against the best D linemen on every team, those edge guys. And he's an alpha. He's a dog. He's going to approach it every week. He wants that on his shoulders.
The Giants have 7 starters on the injury list unable to practice. Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, who used to be with the Ravens, talked about having to face 38-year-old Aaron Rodgers again at quarterback.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. To me, there's no difference. I think that, he's just as effective today as he was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That would be like saying that, I don't know, Michael Jordan can't hit any three-pointers. You're going to guard him outside, and then he'll hit 5 or 6 three-pointers on you. So he's playing at the top level.
That's the Giants defensive coordinator, Donald Wink Martindale. I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back to the program. We are broadcasting live. We are here in Viroqua, the Norwegian Hollow, brought to you by our friends at Great Lakes Dragaway. They have a lot of different stuff coming up still on the schedule. So they've got the featured event. I mean, if you want to get out and run the track with your vehicle, you can. You can rent the track, as a matter of fact. But if you want to, go down and still check out some drag racing in the fall, you can. They're closed most Mondays. But they've got racing for a fun racer, spectators. It's not overwhelmingly expensive. I'll tell you that right now. It's a nice time out, but they still have some stuff going on down at Great Lakes Dragaway. So look for a lot of the events all the way through October. They have fun racing for everybody. They got Mark's Street Wars today, as a matter of fact. Mark's Street Wars going on today. They have bikes and fun racing for everybody. They've got slicks and drag radials on Wednesdays. They've got ladies' night on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and such. So good stuff. Go to GreatLakesDragaway.com. That's GreatLakesDragaway.com and head down to Union Grove, Wisconsin. Good stuff down there. This is from Mark, who says the Packers going to London. Do you think the trip itself has become bigger than just the game? Mark, that's something we're going to talk about coming up here in the next hour. But it seems like the discussion, and Matt LaFleur was testy yesterday, make no mistake about it, but it seems like the discussion of going to London has been, which, you know what, it's rightfully so. It's different. It's something the Packers have. They're the last team to go there. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because the Green Bay Packers are being exposed now, or fans are being exposed to the Packers, we'll say, overseas. Packers fans are traveling overseas. People have saved up knowing this trip has been coming pretty much since the schedule's been released. they've been gathering for this. We're watching pictures time and again. Nick Collins, Leroy Butler, James Jones is there. Other Packers, former Packers are there. Mark Murphy's doing tours with fans. I mean, this is a big deal. This is not like just another deal, another day at the house. This is a big deal for them to go over there and have two storied franchises like the Packers, like the Giants, be on that stage over in London. So, yeah, it is a big deal. It is a big story. But ultimately, you're right. Is it more about the story of going there, or is it more about the game? Because ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, the game is what matters. And we're going to talk about that coming up after we hear from some of the other people inside that locker room, we'll say. But I agree with you that that's a big deal. That's a big deal for having those two or that story, those two stories kind of intertwined. But what means more? 100% agree. Mark says, I think the Packers win this one going away. Have you seen the injury report for the Giants? We did. I retweeted it a little while ago. There's no changes. There's, it's everybody's out, and that's it. No other roster adjustments needed. So they have their wide receiving core is decimated. Daniel Jones is coming back and playing on a bad wheel. Now, Ethan says, what happens if the Packers lose this game because their concentration is on the trip rather than on the Giants? If the Packers lose this game, it will be, first of all, Matt LaFleur will be the great big I told you so. When he was talking about not leaving the hotel room, this is not a sightseeing trip. You look at a few things and then you get back to work because that's it. If you want to come back and visit, London, do it, but do it on your own time. I think head coaches get stress over this because this is all about travel. This is completely out of the norm. You're not worried about game plans. You're worried about resetting the body clocks of all your players. You're worried about travel. What are you going to do on a plane? What are you going to do when you get there? How tired should you make your team? Should they be tired? Should they go to sleep? Should they reset their body clock? Should we let them out on their own? Should we not? How much sightseeing time should? These are all things that have nothing to do with the actual playing of the game. You're trying to appease many different masters in this sense. And then you've got a head coach who's talking about we need to do things right. We need to get things done and done correctly, and we got to make sure that our guys are getting all the the rest they need, the body clocks reset, and all that kind of stuff. And in the meantime, you got a quarterback that's saying, "I can't wait to go out and hit a pub and get a pint and Guinness and what have you." So, the one thing that I have seen, Ben, you tell me if you've seen it as well from people that have gone. And I just saw that the Packers did this, that Packers tour bus with Mark Murphy. Marv Fleming is there. James Jones is there. Nick Collins is there. Leroy Butler is there. Everybody goes to the crosswalk that was the famous and the infamous Beatles picture. Now, if you're going to do it and do it authentically, you shouldn't be wearing shoes. But the Packers just posted the bus stopped in the middle of the street, and that infamous crosswalk, which I don't even know what the name of that is. That Abbey Road? Was that Abbey Road crosswalk?
I'm the wrong person to ask, but I would say yes.
Okay, we'll go with it. I sound intelligent, but we all know I'm not. But it's Mark Murphy grabbing the elbow of Marv Fleming, who is walking behind, I believe it's James Jones. And I think it was. I couldn't remember if it was James Jones, but I believe it is. Nick Collins, and then Leroy Butler leading the pack. So they got out to do the big shot today with all the Packers fans on that double-decker bus, all looking over the edge. But if I'm going to go, I'm going to do it. I'm not wearing shoes. Paul McCartney didn't wear shoes. Why should I wear shoes?
Isn't that a traffic violation?
Yeah, they were all ticketed.
I mean, come on. What are we doing here? We're just stopping busy streets for a picture?
London made money
Get out of here.
off of the Packers fan bus. Now, here's the thing. Did that Packers bus stay there long enough to get them off the street and let all the fans do it? Did all the fans come back?
Oh, I'd hope not.
And then
what a disgrace.
Yes. Come on, man. It was the Beatles. I mean, it's cool if you're doing it like on your own. You're taking your selfie or what have you, but come on. You're not doing that. But they're all walking across the street, the Abbey Road crosswalk.
I'd feel very self-conscious if I was on that bus. I feel like everyone in London is like, what in the world is going on?
They're all looking at
Not to mention the drivers behind them.
You are not the observer and the tourist. You are the idiot on display for all Londoners to see, So you're on you're right. You're like, instead of going to the zoo, you are the traveling monkey and everybody's watching you. I would agree. Okay. So
it's also, you got to think if there was a parking ticket or two involved. I've unfortunately had trouble with this. It's very hard to pay those tickets once you leave the country.
Yeah.
I've gotten parking tickets in Canada multiple times.
Okay.
And I don't know, when you go back there, that's when interest starts. You end up in federal prison before you know it.
Yeah. I got a ticket one time in Indiana, and I tried to pay it like 3 times. I tried to pay it. I called the office and tried to pay it. And they said, well, no, to the point where finally I called like 2 years later. I said, I just want to get this thing off of my record if I have one. They can't find it. Like, it's gone.
Might as well be another country.
Right? It's I'm like, it's Indiana. What would you do? Write it on a tablet? And I'm talking stone? Leave it out in the rain? I can't find it. So I guarantee the next time I get pulled over in Indiana, I'm going to jail because they can't find my ticket. And I'm just going to sit there with an envelope full of money going, here, officer, I've been trying to pay this for 2 years now. Take it. But I agree with you. Hard to pay a ticket. Although Illinois doesn't mind sending you, even when you didn't do anything, Illinois is sending you tickets. God forbid you try to pay online for a toll. Oh, my God. That's a myriad of problems. Stay tuned. We got more. Bill Michaels Show continues. Cassidy coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are in London. It's where they're going to take on the Giants on Sunday morning. They will do so quite healthy. Only one key player, safety Adrian Amos, is listed as questionable for the game. He's coming off a concussion suffered last week against New England. Meanwhile, quarterback Jair Alexander has no injury designation and will play after missing last week with a groin injury. Kick on Sunday morning is set for 8:30 Wisconsin time. Turning to the Badgers, they will make their way to Evanston today. They will take on Northwestern tomorrow afternoon, and what will serve as a debut for interim coach Jim Leonard. Wisconsin comes into the game 2-3 overall, 0-2 in Big Ten play, having started 0-3 in conference play since 2008. But Leonard says despite the slow start and the firing of Coach Paul Christ, there are still plenty out there for the team to accomplish.
We still are in position to reach a lot of the goals that we set at the beginning of the year, and you got to take it a game at a time. We got to turn it around, right? We have to start playing good football and winning games. But the sky falling down a little bit, pump the brakes. Let's take a big picture look of where we're at in the Big Ten and start to get this thing going the right direction, because you string together some games and all of a sudden you're a dangerous team again.
Wisconsin has just one win in Evanston since 2006. Kick tomorrow is set for 2:30.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Brewers announced their individual award winners today, with Willie Adames earning Most Valuable Player honors and Corbin Burns being named Pitcher of the Year. Hunter Renfroe was the top newcomer, while Hobie Miller was honored as the unsung hero. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Good day. Welcome back to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. We are broadcasting live. We're at the Norwegian Hollow. We are here in Viroqua. Good to be here, too. Good time. Good stuff. Going to be out and about this afternoon. Going to be at Gassers from 4 to 6, or 3 to 5. 3 to 5 today. Going to be down at Kickapoo Creekside after that. And then after that, I have no idea. Wherever we end up, we end up. So after that, the compass comes off. We just, wherever the wind blows, I guess, is where we're going to end up going. So, but it's good to be back in Viroqua and hanging out and just kind of enjoying ourselves. So we certainly appreciate it. 877-867-1670, 1670. If you want to hit us up, please feel free to go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. Darnell, we were talking about London and the team itself discussing the trip, probably more so than the upcoming opponent, that being the New York Giants. Darnell Savage said, hey, look, when in him personally, he's excited for London.
I'm excited. I've never been to London. I haven't even I've seen pictures and stuff like that, but it kind of sucks that we're going there to play because we're more so going to be focused on that. But it'll be a fun experience nonetheless. So I'm excited for it.
So as he said, kind of sucks that we got to go and play a game. They wish that they were actually over there, not just playing a game, but more sightseeing than anything. So this, again, goes back to what Matt LaFleur said. You have a job to do. This is not a sightseeing trip. This is a business trip. I'm glad. Look, Darnell Savage Jr. recognizes that, which is awesome. So, that's pretty much half the battle, is getting guys to buy in that this is a working trip, remember. Then he was asked about leaving early for the game and what this means to, get out of Green Bay early on, get to London and start getting acclimated.
I would say it's even tougher because right now, we're about to leave and but we don't play for another couple of days. It kind of feels because normally when we leave, we play the next day. So that's kind of weird. I feel like everybody's kind of on the edge, we're about to play. But once we get there, I feel like we'll settle in and everything will feel normal.
More so about this team upcoming, Saquon Barkley, really the only threat, the offensive threat that the Giants have at this point, with everybody being so incredibly banged up. And Savage, a guy that likes to stick his nose in there and hit when he can, which I've always liked about him, even though he has been injured once or twice because of sticking his nose in there via the hit. He talks about focusing on Saquon Barkley.
We gotta get to the ball. 11 has to the ball every play. He's gonna break some tackles. It's just what he does, who he is. So but the faster we get to the ball, the effects of a missed tackle are less. So we just gotta be ready to play hard and play longer than them, really. So it's definitely gonna be a challenge, but we're up for it.
Darnell Savage also talks. We've discussed it quite a bit this week about the Packers' run defense, and the run defense in the sense of has not been able consistently to stop things in front of them. This has been kind of I don't want to call it a soft defense, but it's a defense that's basically been, their philosophy is just don't give up the big play, So if you're chunking yards down the field and you're, picking up first downs down the field, it's not an awful thing, but just, don't give up the big play. And Darnell Savage talks about the run defense specifically.
Definitely a point of emphasis. That's something that we want to tighten up on. And I think it'll happen over time. Just with getting used to playing with each other and stuff like that, trusting each other to be in the right gaps, not trying to do too much. We got a lot of good players, so I feel like we can kind of make plays whenever. We just got to pick and choose when we try to go for those big plays. So I think we'll be fine.
In the meantime, he was asked specifically about this London trip, and then, as we just talked about, the Packers fans are on a bus. They're traveling around with Mark Murphy and some of the other former Green Bay Packers, the Hall of Famer Leroy Butler and company. And, he was asked what he expects, what he thinks he's going to get, what they're going to get as a team from Packers fans in London.
I don't know what to expect, honestly. I haven't even seen any pictures of the stadium we're playing in, none of that kind of stuff. So there's Packer fans all over the world. So I'm sure I will see some cheeseheads out there. So that's always exciting because no matter where we go, it's a chance that it's a home game for us. So I think that's pretty cool.
In the meanwhile, New York, as we talked about, their wide receiving core, half of them aren't even going to either make the trip or play. They're down big time. The weaponry, as far as the outside goes, almost non-existent. And Savage talks about the fact that they have not a lot to go on when it comes to the wide receiving core and the New York Giants and all the injuries.
With those injuries, they kind of have a lot of guys that are all hands on deck, really. So, they got a lot of guys that have been making plays for them over there. Saquon's been big in the passing game for them as well. So we just got to be ready to guard whoever's out there because, they've been throwing the ball around a little bit to everybody. So we just got to be ready for it.
Then Preston Smith, he's excited. He's been there before, though. This is a guy that's got a little bit of experience traveling across the pond and playing. He did it when he was with Washington. So he talks about his experience of playing in London back then.
Yeah, we went in 2016. And it was a great experience. My first time out the country as a young guy, and that was kind of an eye-opening experience to go somewhere else in another country and see how it is to be a player in another country. Especially, I know soccer's really big over there. And when we was over there, they was cheering the whole game because nobody has a favorite team over there, so they just cheering to have an NFL team. It's loud the whole game. It's pretty exciting. It was really thrilling.
So this one, when it comes to travel plans, I mean, remember Matt LaFleur's done it twice now, so he thought that his travel plans, the way he does it, is probably the best setup for this Packers team going because they left yesterday after practice. They flew overnight. They got in. They're working out today, and then their evening, which is coming up here about 3 or 4 o'clock our time, will be going on 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock their time. Which means they're getting them into bed, and then they've kept them up almost 24 hours, and those guys will sleep. It should reset their body clocks a little bit. So he talks about the travel plans compared to back when he went back in 2016.
I was pretty similar. Leave like tonight, and then get over there like Friday morning. I have meetings and then practice, and have some leisure time, like a normal Friday, but we treated it like a normal Friday in another country.
He was asked, does he have any advice for playing over there, going to London, for the guys inside that locker room that have never done this before?
I mean, use your time wisely. I mean, we are over there playing a game, but, it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience to actually be able to go play in another country and not be a soccer player. And just to be able to do that, our main focus is to go over there and win a football game. And, also it's an experience for some guys. Some of these guys are rookies, never been out the country, and it's their first time being able to do it. Just got to be smart, go do some sightseeing, make sure you give yourself enough time to not miss curfew or to not get back, and give yourself enough time to have fun and still, focus on the game.
Then you've got Robert Tonyan, who has come back from that knee injury and started to become a productive tight end again for Aaron Rodgers. And he was asked what he expects from Packers fans across the pond.
Like a home game for sure. I mean, I think it was like 2019 when we even went to Dallas. Like it was like almost like a home game. And then definitely Packer fans travel. So excited about that.
He was asked about the offense because the offense still does not look like the offense like we assume it would. And it's just not there yet. We all know that. We've seen it up close and personal. And Robert Tonyan was asked about the offense and what's it going to take? How does he feel about this offense starting to put it together?
I think just a lot of young, new guys and people finding new roles. And I wouldn't say finding our identity, but I just think just figuring it out. And, we're grateful to be in the 3-1 spot. Our defense is playing well. And it's not that we're playing bad. I just think that, people are just kind of finding their niche and getting comfortable with the offense.
Then there's some guys that are coming back off of injury, like himself. You've got also Elton Jenkins. You've got David Bakhtiari. There's guys that have been you're kind of taking it easy, even though you got to play football, and football's an all-or-nothing sport. They're still trying to, on a pitch count, ease themselves back into this, and he talks about coming off injuries.
The season is so long, and I think that, certain people like coming off injuries, like a couple of us are just getting our football legs under us. And then, certain guys are asked to do, more things than they're not usually supposed to do. So, like I said, just kind of people just trying to find their niche and find their role.
And then he was asked when you get into London, what do you need to get done, not just in London because you're there, but, for the game, for your prep for the game?
Just move around, get the blood flowing, get the body moving, and mental reps. And, usually those types of days are like that. It's just we'll be, less physical.
Then he said, or not he said, he was asked when you, have never been to London like this before, you're seeking advice from players who have been to London before.
Yeah, just sleep as much on the plane, and when you can, sleep, hydrate. Yeah, just kind of the simple stuff. I think, don't want to overthink it and make it too big of what it really is.
That's exactly right. Don't make it too big. Don't overthink it. Do what you normally do. The big thing for Tonyan when he talked about, trying to keep it simple, is trying to do the best you can, stay within your routine.
I mean, it is exciting to go over there. You're seeing a new country and you don't want to be distracted, but you kind of want to see stuff. But just trying to stay in as much of a routine as possible as you would be over here or any other away game. It's just obviously you're across the pond.
And then last but not least, he gets his first touchdown last week against the New England Patriots on a crossing pattern, puts him into the end zone, and he ends up getting that big shot down the middle. So he talked about the first time, getting into the end zone since he got hurt.
Yeah, it's just been forever. It was funny because usually like after like a game like that, close game, a lot more like high energy, vibrant, but I was like a lot more chill, and I just reflect on it more. And I think it's just kind of like, I wouldn't say emotional, but just like I thought about it. I was like, man, this has been forever, and proud of myself. Happy for the team and the people I had around me just supporting me. So, yeah, more to come, and just gonna keep working and just be around these guys and so proud.
So there you go. That's Robert Tonyan, Preston Smith, Darnell Savage. Just a couple of thoughts from inside the locker room. A lot of talk about London, but what you get the sense of is, as everybody in their own way said it, that this has to be a business trip. You gotta try to stay in a routine. You can't. Yeah, everybody wants to do things. You want to see it, like Darnell Savage said. You want to be able to, kind of enjoy it. But this is kind of a taste of, hey, if you want to go back, but we're not here for this. We're here to get a game in. We're here to be able to try to stay in our routine. This is the thing. First of all, it's good that they're parroting kind of what Matt LaFleur had to say. But it's also, you got to think it's exciting. We're heading to a place we've never been. We're all playing in this stadium for the first time collectively, unless, you've got much like Preston Smith, maybe has been over there one other time. But for the most part, it's the largest soccer stadium of 63,000. And a lot of people playing in it for the first time, maybe their only time, ever doing this. So you're excited about the opportunity, but I think at the same time, you're trying to do everything you can to remember, look, you don't want to go over there and come back. It's a long flight back if you lose. It's a long flight back if you lose. Because then the Giants, they're expected to. They've got all the injuries. They're 3-1. They're kind of a paper tiger at this point. They just, not a lot of people believing in them. They don't have that same level of expectation. Plus, the city of New York is paying attention to the Yankees right now. The best thing that could have happened to the Giants in this quiet 3-1 and start and being somewhat of that paper tiger is the fact that the Yankees are playing baseball right now. So they don't have to necessarily be the focus and the spotlight and such. In the meantime, the Packers, they're expected to win. They're expected to end up in a Super Bowl. They've got all the pressure on them. If the Packers would lose this game, it would be a long flight home, a long flight back, no doubt. So go over and get your business taken care of. And that's kind of the mantra, the mindset from Matt LaFleur. And you can certainly hear it in those three players that it's trickled down in that same sense. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Milwaukee Bedbug Pros. That's Milwaukee Bedbug Pros. You got them. You don't want them. I'll tell you that right now. Not the Milwaukee Bedbug Pros, but bed bugs, ants, the box elder bugs that are coming out when it gets warm on the side of your house, stink bugs, all that kind of nasty stuff. If you got it, you don't want it. If you don't have it, you don't want it. Call them 414-877-5811. That is 414-877-5811. Mike will give you a hand helping you out because they're safe, they're effective. They have two different types, whether it's thermal or chemical care. So if you got kids, you got pets, no problem. Don't panic. They treat many different things, many different ways. Discreet. They can customize a solution for your situation and your budget. But if it's a home, a townhome, a multi-unit apartment building, if you're one of those owners, a dorm room maybe, hotels, motels, resorts, medical facilities, daycare, think about all of those. You don't want bed bugs. You don't want ants. You don't want stink bugs. You don't want box elder bugs. Anything, roaches, anything like that creeping around. Be preventative. If you don't have them, be preventative. If you do have them, get rid of them. Get a hold of our friends over there at MilwaukeeBedbugPros.com, MilwaukeeBedbugPros.com, or call Michael 414-877-5811. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gene Adela in the title tones featuring Wayne Larrivee, Jason Wilde, and Mark Tauscher. Game Day Bus, take 47.
Let's all take the Game Day Bus
to Titletown.
Let's go. Wayne, Tausch, Wilde, haven't you been practicing all year? What if I said Pella fans can get 0% interest for 48 months on any replacement project right now?
Yeah!
And there is your Pella.
Can he say that? Isn't that trademarked?
His paycheck for this says otherwise. Speaking of catchphrases, we call this the Pella Now Pay Later option. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin's experts stop by for an in-home consultation. They'll help you choose the perfect windows for your home. The installation is completed with no hassle or mess, leaving only perfect results while you put no money down, make no payments, and no interest for up to 4 years. Schedule your free consultation now at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Expires 10/31/2022.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Swallow my pride, I would choke on the lines, looking like the
and more involved and starting to say we can trust him and see you guys, and being able to say that you're just going to start throwing on the ball, because at some point you just got to start putting it up. At some point you just got to start putting it up. So do you begin to trust Christian Watson and say, look, this is the legitimate downfield threat that we have? And do you say we're going to stretch the field, we're going to start giving him some opportunities? At what point does he become more than just a motion decoy, offensively speaking? And I think, earlier one of our people on the Bud Light live stream, they hit it on the head as well. The other thing you got to worry about, you don't want any significant injuries. I mean, you never want injuries anyway, but throughout this stretch, before you get to Buffalo, you don't want anything significant to happen. You're not trying to play clean football, but you're trying to get better, and you just kind of, knock on wood that you don't have anything significant happen. And you don't have to worry all of a sudden about, like I said before, God forbid you lose, say, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, or Romeo Doubs and Alan Lazard. And then you're down to guys that Randall Cobb, who's having a terrific resurgence, don't get me wrong, but he's Randall Cobb. He's never been Devontae Adams. So you can't rely solely on him and Christian Watson. So what you can't afford is a couple of injuries there, a couple of injuries at your linebacking position. You're trying to make sure that you get out of these things relatively injury-free as well. So I get that. But, yeah, going back to who is the strongest team in the NFC right now, I would go with Philadelphia. Philadelphia just looked better. They looked more complete. I think San Francisco might be the second best team in the conference right now. Because I'm trying to think of who's better at this point. Who's the next best team in the conference? It's, we thought the West was going to be really strong, and even at 2-2, the 49ers have looked better and more complete. I don't have a lot. The Cowboys are sitting at 3-1. Do we look at the Cowboys with Cooper Rush and go, you know what? They're winning. You can't deny it. They've got Micah Parsons off the edge, one of the best pass rushers right now in football. Cooper Rush is getting it done. Zeke Elliott, the combination for the running game has been formidable. Their offensive line seems to, at least as of right now, come together. Do the Cowboys look like maybe the second best team in the NFC? The Buccaneers aren't it. We know that. Who else would it be? The Packers sitting at 3-1? But I don't think, is it the Vikings? Vikings are 3-1. But the Vikings have somewhat struggled, at times where they have not looked anywhere near what they were when they just dismantled the Packers. And even when they beat the Packers, it wasn't a 35-3 blowout. So who is the next best team in the NFC? And the Packers got dismantled by the Vikings. And since then, they've handled teams that aren't as good. You got the Mac Jones-less New England Patriots, who gave them trouble. The Bears play people tough, but Bears aren't a great team by any stretch of the imagination. They beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay on the road down there, that's a good win. Regardless of the ugly score, that's still a good win. So who is the next best team in the NFC at this point? Who is Super Bowl bound out of the NFC? I think the best team right now, hands down, is the Eagles. Beyond that, I would ask anybody to venture a guess and then explain to me why. Let's do this. Cassidy Hill from the Journal-Sentinel covering the Green Bay Packers going to join us coming up next. Also, Mike Clemens is going to join us the final hour of the program, as he always does on Fridays. We're going to get his perspective in this as well. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Growth Law Firm, your personal injury attorney specifically geared towards bikers. And if you've had an injury and you need some law advice, they can help you out. That's growthlaw.com, G-R-O-T-H, Growth Law, G-R-O-T-H, growthlaw.com. Check them out. Tell them we sent you. Stay tuned. Cassidy Hill with the Journal-Sentinel going to join us coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad to have you. We are broadcasting live at the Norwegian Hollow. We are here in Viroqua another day. You know, we've just kind of been invited to the high school football game tonight. It's homecoming tonight. So we're going from Gassers to Kickapoo Creekside, and then we're going to try to make it over by maybe the second quarter of the high school football game tonight here in Viroqua. I'm excited. Kind of geeked up for all of this stuff. So that's what's going on here. In the meantime, over in London, the Packers continue to get ready for the New York Giants. And joining us now, Cassidy Hill of the Journal Sentinels got us, on the hotline. Cassidy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, are we talking to you live in London, or are you one of the people that's decided to stay home?
No, I'm not in London. I wish that would have been cool. But obviously, that's a difficult trip to send everyone.
Right.
We have some of our best people on the ground over there. Ryan Wood, Pete Doherty, Rich Ryman. They're covering it for Packers News, Journal Sentinel, Press Gazette. They are on the ground in London and probably very tired.
Yeah.
At this point. But yeah, Tom Silverstein and I are kind of covering it here from Green Bay. I was actually just telling a friend of mine, I was like, I got a little bit of FOMO this morning, and so I turned on Ted Lasso in the background while I just worked around the house doing stuff. So I feel like I'm there.
So let's first of all talk about this, because the talk has been all week about London. You tell me, has Matt LaFleur seemed, to put it politely, snippy?
I called him Sassy Matty the other day, and I think I'm going to let that stick for a while.
Okay.
He has been sassy lately, but I a little snippy, yeah, but I can understand. It's within good reason, because he's a very detail-oriented guy. Every coach is. They like their routines. They get into a routine. They know this is what you do on Monday, this is what you do on Tuesday, this is what you do on Wednesday. And they've essentially had to adjust their entire routine by it's a Sunday to Sunday game, but they front loaded their work schedule this week and prepared like it was a Thursday game. So instead of, implementing the offense in stages on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they implemented it on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to have everything ready before they left for London. And then they had a tough practice on Thursday, which normally that would be your walkthrough if it was a Thursday game, but they implemented everything. Then they had a tough practice. Then they flew overseas. They got off a plane this morning and immediately went to the practice field. So that's always sort of the interesting part of these international games. They're so much fun. I understand them. Fans love them. It helps grow the game. But for the teams playing them, it essentially gives them two opponents. The Packers are playing the Giants and the jet lag. And how each team not only prepares for the other team, but how they prepare for the trip will really make a difference in who wins this game. And Matt LaFleur has has coached in this game twice before, once with the Rams, once with the Titans, and he's 1-1. So he's seen what has worked and he's seen what hasn't. And so I think that's why he's been so. I'm looking for a word that's polite.
Right.
He's been so forward this week, is because he's trying to make sure that when there's so many things out of his control, that everything is still within his control to sort of get this team on the right track and know that they can get over there. Because for a lot of these veterans that have been with the Packers for years, this is their first international trip as well. And for some of the rookies, you've got some guys like Preston Smith and Rasul Douglas that have made the trip with other teams, but for so many guys in this locker room, this is their first time playing in the international series. And it's a beast of a trip, as how Mercedes Lewis described it this week, just a beast of a game and a trip. And so I guess I can understand Matt LaFleur's attitude this week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get it. And I was talking about it too. When you're not worried about necessarily the game plan, but you have to worry about body clocks and travel arrangements. And, you're listening to doctors, you're listening to people that have been there, you're listening to people overseas. You're going to unfamiliar territory. You've never been on this turf before. I mean, all of that comes into play. And, oh, by the way, you got a game to play and you got to get prepared for the New York Giants with or without all their talent. Yeah, no, I completely understand where he's coming from. So let's talk about the offense, because I got into the discussion last week that the downfield passing game, even though they've had quite a few explosive plays, the downfield passing game has not necessarily been existent. At what point do they start taking shots? And now I know they did. They took a couple of shots downfield unsuccessfully. But at what point do you start saying, Christian Watson's really the downfield guy, we got to go with him?
I think that's what they drafted him to be. But so far, they've been able to get by with some Romeo Doubs, Sammy Watkins before he got hurt, Alan Lazard. But what's really been their bread and butter is just yards after the catch. I think at one point, and they may still, I would have to check, led the league after 3 weeks in yards after the catch. That's what their offense is right now. And it's hard to wrap your mind around when it's always been a downfield game with Aaron Rodgers and usually Devontae Adams and Brett Favre and other teams. I made the comment the other day to Tom Silverstein and Ryan Wood when we were doing our podcast that, why is everyone freaking out? You run to set up the pass. That's the rule of thumb. That's the base of any good offense is you run to set up the pass. And they both made the point, yeah, but they haven't had to do that in Green Bay for the past 30 years because it's been downfield shots. You've had Favre, you've had Rodgers. You haven't needed to run to set up the pass. You haven't had to go for those 6-yard checkdowns and intermediate throws. And so it's a new concept, I understand, in Green Bay, but this is a viable and efficient offense. It looks different, so therefore it looks wrong through the lens of what the Packers have usually done, but it works. And so if you have to give up the 50-yard or the 45 yards on air to a deep shot to Christian Watson, and even that, God, man, I really gave Aaron Rodgers a lot of credit there for a pass that's 45 yards on air. If you have to give up the deep shot to Christian Watson, that may or may not unfold the way you want it to take the 8-yard shot to Lazard coming across the middle, I think that's what they're going to do right now as these rookies continue to develop. Will they eventually get to where they're throwing back down deep? Yeah, probably so, because this is still Aaron Rodgers under center. But he's struggled the first 4 weeks. He's been the first person to say that and to admit that. And with the strength of this offense as it is right now with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon and what the receivers that they have can do, this is going to be this offense. It's going to be more RPO-based. It's going to be short throws, intermediate throws, getting the guys in space and letting them work. Eventually, defenses are going to come up to defend against that, and when they do, then you do still have Aaron Rodgers back there who can, see a one-high safety and lick his chops. And by then, you would hope he has, more chemistry with Christian Watson, and the rookie's not going to drop those balls.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, this is what this offense is, and it works.
Talking with Cassidy Hill, find her on Twitter at Cassidy G. Hill, reporter for the Packers News, also Journal Sentinel and such. I do like the fact that in your Twitter you say you're a future Jeopardy winner. Are you hanging out with Aaron Rodgers for that knowledge and specificness when it comes to Jeopardy, or is it just the aspiration one day?
He and I have actually never had that conversation. We've talked about Princess Bride, but we've never had the Jeopardy conversation. I always joke that is my entire life goal. Everything I do in life is to one day get me on Jeopardy. I will probably get on there and bomb, but I don't care. My real plan is and I think that they brought this show back, which could work in my favor. My real plan was to always go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, because I feel like that would be an easier show to win on because you have multiple choice, and to win the money that I could then go lock myself in a cabin and study for Jeopardy.
There you go. Okay.
That's my plan there.
So one comes first and then the other, and the bottom line is it all stacks up and makes money.
Exactly.
There you go.
And I get to go on the ultimate trivia show.
That's awesome. Hey, I want to ask you, defensively speaking, Joe Barry, over the last couple of weeks, the defense giving up chunk plays. It looks to me and many like it's just the mantra is, don't worry about being aggressive. Don't worry about taking chances. Just don't let anything get behind you. And we've seen this team, while they have not given up a ton of points, and last week, technically, the defense only gave up 17 because one was a pick six that went back. This defense is still one of the better scoring defenses as of right now in the league. But does this defense look I don't want to say a championship-style defense because they're all works in progress, but it seems like there's not a ton of aggressiveness defensively out of this team right now.
I would have to agree, which is confounding and a little mind-blowing considering the personnel. They have the personnel to be aggressive. I really thought that that's what they would be coming into this season. It's why so many people thought that this would be the best defense in the NFL before the season started. And I think it still could be because, like I said, they have the guys to do it. Some of that's probably just stubbornness. Some of it's probably game planning that's beyond what we know or can comprehend when we're not in the meetings breaking down hours and hours of tape like these guys are. But I also think we might see a little bit of a shift soon. Matt LaFleur mentioned this week talking to Joe Barry about playing so much too high. and staying in a too high shell, and that there might need to come out of it at times. And it's not groundbreaking. That's sort of logical, I guess you could say, considering who they're playing and what those offenses are doing. But the fact that Matt LaFleur stepped in and told his defensive coach that is what stood out to me, because he, for the most part, kept his hands out of those decisions for his first few years here. So if he's stepping in and telling the defensive coaches, come out of the too high and stop playing it so much, go to one if we need to, and bring more down into the box, the fact that he's stepping in and telling the coaches that says a lot to me.
Cassidy, great stuff. I appreciate it, and we appreciate you joining us for a couple of minutes, okay?
Thanks, Bill. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. There you go. Cassidy Hill at Cassidy G. Hill over on Twitter, covering the Green Bay Packers. Her and Spoon. I thought Spoon would be there, man. Her and Tom Silverstein, both back in Wisconsin. Everybody else on the road in London, and they're holding down the fort here, which, to a certain extent, I can't blame them, to be honest with you. But that being said, some good stuff. And we're all in agreement. We're looking at things as Matt LaFleur seems to be a little bit on edge, maybe is a kind way to put it. The offense is still not hit its stride. At some point, you got to take some chances. Joe Barry is running somewhat of a vanilla offense, not being very aggressive right now. Maybe this is all something that's going to be in store for more down the road. You're looking for more, or do they even need to do more to beat the Giants? That's a whole other question for you and I, who have this anxiety because you see these other teams flying around, getting to the quarterback, getting to the ball, creating turnovers and such. Packers are winning, and they don't have to do all of those things right now. So are they that good that they're playing relatively vanilla and they're still winning in the National Football League against lesser teams? Or are they a team that doesn't have that capability to be that good? I want to talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show, broadcasting live down here at the Norwegian Hollow. If you want to stop down and you're in the within the sound of my voice, come on by. We'd love to have you. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at over there at Albanese's Roadhouse. Today, Joey, he's got his good people for the Italian fish fry on a Friday. It's really, really good if you've never had it. They're right there next to Menards on Blue Mountain Road across the street from Home Depot. That is Albanese's Roadhouse. Tell them we said hi.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
It's the Packers and the New York Giants. Sunday morning at 8:30 Wisconsin time from Tottenham Stadium in London. Matt LaFleur asked if anyone on the Packers staff has had time to inspect the field there.
No. This is the first time going over there that will be on field turf. It was grass, yes.
Is the surface field turf? Tottenham plays on grass, don't they? Did they replace it for this
Did you
game?
watch the game last week? Obviously not. Yes, it's field turf.
LaFleur's been kind of testy all week. The Packers will face perhaps the best running back in the NFL, Saquon Barkley. Packers defensive coordinator Joe Barry on what he told his players about Barkley.
He's like 5.5, I think, per carry right now. Phenomenal player, phenomenal talent. He's got all the he's explosive, he's big. They do a great job with him throwing the ball as well. You know, they find ways to get him the ball, not just turning around and handing it. He's the best in our business right now, statistically. So he's just an all-round complete back. It's got to be a collective group effort this week because you can't tackle that guy with one person. It's got to be, population to the ball. Unbelievable player, unbelievable talent.
Saquon says he wants to be the best in the NFL.
I mean, as a competitor, it don't just got to be a guy like Jonathan Taylor when we play Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. Like, those are two extremely talented backs. Every week for me, you're really competing against yourself, to be completely honest. At the end of the day, for me, I'm just trying to go out there and just perform at a high level.
That's Giants running back Saquon Barkley. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
Welcome back to the program. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at New Man Medical. Treating guys with ED all over the state. Beyond the board. Doesn't matter where you're at. One phone number to call, 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. Whether it's ED, erectile dysfunction, and that you know you have. Low T, you may not know you have it, but you can feel the effects. Being tired, being moody, the mental brain fog, all that kind of stuff, feeling kind of up and down. You could have low T. And if you're over the age of 30, stop in and get your numbers checked. How about the all-in-one weight loss program? You can do that as well. And yes, that does work, but you can't do anything if you don't call the New Mel Medical Center, 414-455-4451, 414-455-4451, and tell them we sent you. For sure, tell them we sent you. So we were sitting here before we went to the break, and we were talking about, are the Packers good enough and better than maybe what some people are giving them credit for, because they really haven't had to do much. There's no dynamicness to this team because they haven't had to play dynamic football. Or do you think they're not as good and they don't have the ability to be dynamic and they've just beaten lesser talent? A rather interesting question. I don't necessarily even want to be wishy-washy and say the truth lies somewhere in between, because I don't believe that. I want to say that this is a team that has not had to play dynamic football, that this is a team that got a portion of the schedule after the initial punch in the face from the Minnesota Vikings, where they can breathe. They know they're good. They know they've got the better quarterback. They know they can score when they absolutely positively need to. And yet they are trying different things. They're trying to give the ball and be more of a run-oriented offense. I think there's a struggle a little bit right now going on between what the offense should look like, the way Aaron Rodgers wants to run the offense, and then the obviously the offense not having the downfield capability. Ernie sitting here next to me says, do you think they miss Nathaniel Hackett? Do they miss Luke Getsy, the quarterback coach? Is that a possibility? Is Matt LaFleur trying to get it all done on his own, so to speak? So it's interesting that I think they're a better team than what they've shown. I think that Barry has played relatively vanilla. I think that they're relying on the front 3 and 4 to get pressure, everybody else to tackle. And when you hear them and see them tackle and talk about it, they're a good football team. When they are fundamentally unsound, they're not a good football team. I think it's that simple. I don't think there's a lot of in between there. It's not a gray area. It's not wishy-washy. I think they're better than what they've shown. John says, I'll tell you who's a fraud. The Eagles. Mark it down. Should have lost to the Lions and Jags. They're beating up on crappy teams. Yeah, but John, that's what you're supposed to do. Good teams win those games. Are the Packers a fraud because they barely got past, Bailey Zappi? Are they a fraud? Complicated fellow says, I heard the comment regarding the turf in the Clements news brief. LaFleur was a complete ass there. He must have some other issues outside of football to answer that question like that. He comes off whiny. Rick says, I hope they go back to running a true 3-4 this weekend. Interesting stuff and interesting takes. We'll talk more about that when we come back after the top of the hour. Don't forget, also, we'll ask the same question to Mike Clemens coming up here in about 17, 18 minutes from now when he joins us for the remainder of the way. But we've got 3 hours down, got another hour yet to go. You got a homecoming tonight for the Blackhawks out here in Viroqua. We are going to be over at Gassers a little bit later on this afternoon from 3 to 5. And then from there, we're going to be heading down to Kickapoo Creekside. So we might head over to the high school football game after the fact. Don't know yet, wherever life takes us. But a lot still yet to do out here in Viroqua, where we are hanging out at the Norwegian Hollow. And, man, they had a really good crowd for lunch. Didn't know that many people headed down this direction for lunch, but they do. Good stuff. And we're going to be here for another hour, so stay tuned. Got a lot more to go. Bill Michaels Show continues coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are in London. It's where they're going to take on the Giants on Sunday morning. They will do so quite healthy. Only one key player, safety Adrian Amos, is listed as questionable for the game. He's coming off a concussion suffered last week against New England. Meanwhile, quarterback Jair Alexander has no injury designation and will play after missing last week with a groin injury. Kick on Sunday morning is set for 8:30 Wisconsin time. Turn to the Badgers. They will make their way to Evanston today. They will take on Northwestern tomorrow afternoon, and what will serve as a debut for interim coach Jim Leonard. Wisconsin comes into the game 2-3 overall, 0-2 in Big Ten play, having started 0-3 in conference play since 2008. But Leonard says despite the slow start and the firing of Coach Paul Christ, there's still plenty out there for the team to accomplish.
We still are in position to reach a lot of the goals that we set at the beginning of the year, and you got to take it a game at a time. We got to turn it around, right? We have to start playing good football and winning games. But the sky falling down a little bit, pump the brakes. Let's take a big picture look at where we're at in the Big Ten and start to get this thing going the right direction, because you string together some games and all of a sudden you're a dangerous team again.
Wisconsin has just one win in Evanston since 2006. Kick tomorrow is set for 2:30.
Your work-life balance is important to you, and Sutton Transport agrees. Sutton Transport offers a 5-day work week, same start times daily, and you'll be home nightly and weekends. Sutton Transport is now hiring CDL drivers. Enjoy some of the best benefits in the industry, consistent year-round work, twice-a-year wage increases, and enjoy your family time you deserve. That is work-life balance. The road to success is with Sutton Transport. Apply online at suttontrans.com.
The final hour of the program. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show, we continue on. We're broadcasting live at the Norwegian Hollow. We're here in Viroqua, and it's been great. We've had so much fun already. Still got more to come tonight. Going to be at Gassers from 3 to 5 today. Going to be down at Kickapoo Creekside after that for dinner. Then heading over most likely to the high school football game, homecoming tonight. But you're telling me that they're going to get killed, right? Viroqua? Aquinas tonight? Okay. And they were actually in a division higher, Aquinas was. Yeah, they were in a different conference, and now they've been put in with Viroqua. So, you know what? Optimism can reign supreme. Maybe something happens along the way. Get a couple of trick plays, a couple of turnovers. Next thing you know, boom, you're up. Then again, Lombardi could be coaching the team. Dig them up. See what happens. But hopefully, I know there's not a lot of optimism, but good luck to the Viroqua Blackhawks tonight as they take on Aquinas. So, we'll try it. We'll try it. We'll do everything we can to stop over there maybe tonight as well. So, good stuff. It's what? And then Packers here on Sunday. Yeah, the Norwegian Hollow is going to open up early. We talked about that a little bit earlier. They're going to open up at 8 a.m. A lot of the bars and restaurants and such that are sponsors of ours all opening up come Sunday morning as well. Our friends over at the Sunset Grill in Pewaukee doing exactly the same thing. We talked about many of the other ones. So I would assume all over, everybody's opening up early for this Packers game. Packers in London coming up on Sunday morning. So are the Packers a team that is just this good? They don't have to open it up, so to speak? Or are they a team that is just on the verge and maybe they don't have the capability to open it up? 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up? Do so. Hit us up, do so. It's going to be an interesting weekend with the Green Bay Packers. All the injuries specifically to the wide receiving core for the New York Giants. They will have Daniel Jones back under center, but he is going to be, let's face it, he's going to be limited, most likely, coming off of that ankle injury. And although he did, they said, look pretty good at practice the other day. So we'll see what he gives you. But in the meantime, you got Wan'Dale Robinson is out. Kenny Golladay out. Kadarius Toney out. Tyrod Taylor, the backup quarterback, out. You got a couple of guys defensively. Julian Love out. Cordell Flott out. Nick McLeod out. Ojulari out. So you've got quite a few guys, and that's it. That is, they don't have to make any other roster moves unless they bring in another quarterback to back up Daniel Jones. They don't have to make a roster move because all of those guys are out anyway. So they've already been deemed done. The Packers don't have to worry about any of those guys. So that leaves you David Sills, Richie James, and Darius Slayton, including you've got their tight end, Daniel Bellinger, their fourth-round draft choice from this season, and then Saquon Barkley, obviously, and Matt Breida out of Buffalo. Those are the weaponry. That's the weaponry they have. They don't have a whole lot. So are the Packers coming into this weekend, do you look for them to be more dynamic? My answer is no. Do I think they're a better team than what we've seen? Yes. Do I think they're going to continue to get better offensively? Yes. Do I think that they've opened up the playbook and taken chances? No. I think there's a lot more below the surface. And the only thing that I would say about Matt LaFleur being testy is if you go off of the premise that this week is just a hectic week and all you want to do is play the game, all you want to do is coach the game. If that's all you're looking for, I get it. I get testy. However, as one over on the Bud Light live stream put it, he could be upset because things aren't getting any better. Maybe this team is what it is, and he's nervous about it. Okay, I can understand that too. But we'll wait and see once they get back from this trip if the testy remains. Mark says they are undercoached and LaFleur is pouting. He's pouting. Let's go to the phone calls. Talk to Doug. Doug, welcome to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Couple of comments, one on offense, one on the defense. I think the offense will eventually start putting up more points. I think the offensive line is still a little shaky. I don't think the offensive line has totally got their feet under them, or if they still totally have the 5 best players out there. You know, That's where I think the problem's coming on offense. They're giving up a sack at the very at killing drives. It's mainly offensive line on offense. And on the defense as a whole, they've played very well, giving up very few points. Well, one thing that concerns me on the defense is the play of the defensive backs with these intermediate passes, somewhat long passes, 20, 25-yard pass down in between the numbers and the hash, and there's nobody within 10 yards, safety or corner. Like that's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened in a few games. So those are my comments. And LaFleur, I think he was just having a bad day. I think that guy asked kind of a goofy question, and he didn't feel like answering it.
Yeah.
People got a right to be that way. That's
I
just the way
get
it
it.
is.
I get it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the phone call. Did you know that the Green Bay Packers, you talked about giving up some chunk yards and some plays underneath. Did you know that the Green Bay Packers in passing defense rated dead last? 71.7% of the passes thrown against the Green Bay Packers, defensively speaking, are being completed. That puts them dead last in the National Football League. Now, when it comes to yards per attempt, nowhere near that. Packers are actually top 12. 6.3 yards per pass play being completed. That puts them about 12, 13, something like that. Actually puts them in number 11. Number 11 in the National Football League. They have one interception. They picked off one pick this year, second to last. Then again, there's 4 or 5 other teams that only have one as well, and they're not great teams. The Commanders, the Lions, the Chiefs are pretty good, but their defense doesn't have a pick to show. They have one pick. The Saints, the Dolphins, Packers, Giants don't have a pick defensively speaking yet this year. Just an FYI. But I just found it interesting. When it comes to defending the run, when you look at yards per carry, the best in the league is the 49ers, giving up 2.9 yards per carry on the season. Green Bay Packers, bottom third, giving up 5 yards per carry. Their run defense is, when you look at it, is second, fourth to last in the league. Lions at 5.6 yards, Chargers at 5.4, 5.1. There's 3 or 4 teams at 5.1. The Bears, Giants, Patriots, Seahawks, and Texans. And then after that is the Packers. So their run defense, problematic. Their pass defense, they're completing a lot of passes, but the passes, a lot of those are underneath passes. So when you look at the scoring defense, it's really, that's kind of, one of the things that I look at for what they're giving up. The Green Bay Packers, still not bad, middle of the pack. And that number's obviously come up consistently ever since the beginning of the season, when they gave up, the 20-plus points, 27 points to the Minnesota Vikings. Other than that, their defense hasn't been terrible as you look at it. So I just think that they haven't unleashed anything yet because they haven't had to. And maybe that's optimistic of me, which is quite possible. Maybe that's the optimistic side. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I think the Packers are a good football team who has not had to dig deep into the bag of tricks, if you will. They've just been able to play straight up, get the job done, and move on. And then when you finally face a team like Buffalo, hopefully some things have gotten better by then. But the Green Bay Packers right now, as far as their total net yards, they're averaging 1,500, or they've got a total of 1,510 yards in the season, only giving up 1,100. They're averaging per game 377.5. They're giving up under 300, 294.8. Their rushing attempts, their rushing yards per game. The Packers, when was the last time the Packers averaged 145 yards rushing per game? But they're still giving up over 100. They're giving up 126.8. But their pass defense keeping everything in front of them for a 71% completion percentage, which makes them dead last in the National Football League. They are only giving up, on average, as we talked about, 168 passing yards per game. So that's not bad. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Rick says that I think that 4 games, not a big enough sample size. I'd agree with that. And Mark says, I think you hit something there. I hope. I believe, and we got into this discussion a little bit off the air last night, when you look at this team and you say, how can this team look at times so bad but still be 3-1, but yet got just drilled by the Vikings? And the Vikings game was a weird game. It was like, we've talked about it, and I know Vikings fans get insulted when we say it was their Super Bowl, but they played like it. The Packers looked like a team that was just trying to get their feet wet again after not playing any starters in the preseason, while the Vikings came out like that was day one, and that was the Super Bowl. That was their NASCAR Daytona. Since then, the Packers have looked okay. Not great, but just okay. It is what it is. John says, devil's advocate here, Rodgers needs to continue to try and chuck it. These young wide receivers need the practice, the timing, and it looks like Rodgers wants them to turn it on. I think Rodgers is becoming frustrated because he doesn't have the downfield game, and they haven't done it enough. And last week, while he threw up back-to-back passes, I take that back. They threw one deep to Lazard, the next one to Dobbs. Neither of which, or was it to Watson, but neither of which looked very good. They fell short, and they just looked like they didn't even know it was coming. And in the meantime, they ran A.J. Dillon up the gut for, I think, like 2 yards and then punted the ball away. You got to take a shot, but the Lazard catch was solid, but he didn't have a lot of separation. Rodgers had to make a perfect pass. And the Dobbs catch, that wasn't. He's got to be able to continue that to the ground and then come up with that ball. Those 2 catches start to hit, it changes the dynamic of the game. Same thing with Christian Watson in the game 1 when he had that big drop, all that kind of stuff. I just think that you still got to take some more shots downfield, but I think they have it there. They have it in the arsenal. They have the ability to do it. They have the want to do it. I think at some point, Rodgers is just going to start chucking it. Not chucking it to the point where he's going to put it in a position to be picked off consistently, but chucking it to say, guys, go make some plays. Let's earn some trust here so we can figure out what we actually have. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to talk with Mike Clemens the rest of the way. When we come back, we are broadcasting live at the Norwegian Hollow here in Viroqua. They are going to be open 8 a.m. this coming Sunday. Get you ready with breakfast for the Packers over in London. So come on in for that. In the meantime, the rest of you enjoy it, because whatever bar it is you have in your area, I'm sure you're going to be heading off to, unless you're waking up and making your own French toast pancakes and maybe the bangers and whatever they call it over there. Maybe you're going to stay authentic, bangers and eggs or whatever. But enjoy it. Stay tuned. We got more of Mike Clemens coming up after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away for wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Is this week difficult for
I'm not going to give you my honest answer. I'd rather refrain. It feels like a Thursday night game for us as coaches, just in terms of all the preparation you got to do. But you just do it.
Dynamite drop in, Mike Clemens. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline, throwing out some London calling. I like it. Good stuff. Welcome back to the program, The Bill Michaels Show, brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Make sure you see them next week at the Nary Home Show, which is out at the Wisconsin State Fair Park. And don't forget, if you get in, book the appointment, have the appointment, they will put you in for a $2,000 registration to win the $2,000, the coupon, when you get some windows and doors installed at your house. Also, Mike Clemens, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Bay Motel, quiet, clean, cozy, comfortable. Good stuff. Go to baymotelgreenbay.com when you're heading up to Limbu. Michael, how you doing, pal?
Have you sensed that Matt LaFleur's been testy now, like going on a week and a half?
I think his underwear is chafing him something fierce.
You know, like having to face the Patriots, and even though, you know, that Mac Jones was going to be out with his high ankle sprain, and you had Brian Hoyer coming in, but, you know, it was Belichick coming in a big primetime game on your CBS. And then you win. You hold on. You think there'd be a sense of relief. And then it just got even more weird this week. And it didn't seem to get any better. There was little incidences each day. And then on the last press conference before they got on the 8-9 hour flight to London, I thought this was a legitimate question from Tom Silverstein of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Remember when people say, why is this such a big deal? It's like, well, it's because they're not going to an NFL stadium. They're not going to. If you said, hey, next week you got to play a game in Oklahoma City, and so you're staying at a hotel you've never been at, yeah, you don't know where your practice facility is, you're going into a stadium you never played in before, that's tough. And instead of, having to go across, the Atlantic Ocean, and it's the first time as a franchise you've done that, the equipment people. So one question was, remember they played that exhibition game in Winnipeg when the Raiders were hosting, and they got up there and they walked the field, and there's this big hunk of metal in the end zone underneath the goalpost, and they ended up having to put pylons up and make it an 80-yard field for an exhibition game. Now, that's not going to happen this weekend. This is a field that the NFL has used. But LaFleur was asked, has anybody from the Packers organization had a chance to, walk the field at this Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Did you guys get to see any of the field, get on it at all to do anything before the game?
No. And this is the first time going over there that will be on field turf for a team that I've been a part of.
Grass?
It was grass, yes.
Is the surface field turf? Tottenham plays on grass, don't they? Did they replace it for this
Did you
game?
watch the game last week? Obviously not. Yes, it's field turf.
Yeah, that moment, Mike, the reaction was, what an ass. For lack of a better term, that's what people were saying was, how do you, all you got to do is answer the question. Now, I get it. Maybe he's feeling testy about something, but not everybody watches every minute of every game that's being played, and he was asking a question. But then again, he did say, this is the first time I'll be with a team that's actually playing on field turf. So the question came after he had made the statement, but yeah, he sounded testy.
Yeah, so it's not just me, right?
Right.
I mean, something's changed in the man's demeanor after 3 seasons and a quarter so far. Here's the good news. The place that they're staying at is called the Grove, outside of London. You pull up, there's a fence there, and then there's this rolling meadow, and then this thing looks like a castle up on the hill where the resort is. Hey, if anybody's got a minute, just Google the Grove in England, and you'll see. Talk about 10 stars that they're staying at. And so LaFleur was asked about the team facilities this weekend.
I heard it's unbelievable. I heard we're staying at the nicest place. We're staying at the Grove. Joe Barry's been there, I know, in the past. Everything I've heard about it is it's first class all the way. I heard the food at the Grove is unbelievable. So hopefully, it lives up to the hype, because I know the people that I've talked to have really hyped it up.
Yeah, I Googled it. Holy mackerel. It's like your own castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Wow.
And yeah, and I mean, you don't have to leave the place when it comes to meals. It's outstanding that way. Here's one thing that's popped up. We've been talking about, you need your defense to get a few more turnovers. Well, you've also had some fumbles. That fumble on Romeo Doubs wasn't really his fault. Aaron Rodgers even said he probably threw the ball in a bad place. Doubs just trying to get a handle on the ball, and then the Patriots swat away and ended up recovering. I think it was the rookie Jack Jones. So, but when you start looking at this now, you're fourth into the season, and the Green Bay Packers are at the bottom of the turnover differential. They've lost 4 fumbles. Rodgers has got the 3 interceptions. They're like 28th or so in the league right now. And LaFleur was asked, these are obviously get to be costly, and losing the handle on the football is not something that's happened during his time as head coach. What does he think is going on?
That's a great question. If I had the answer to it, I don't think we'd be in this spot. We just got to do a better job, and something that each individual, when they carry the football, understand that they've got to carry with great ball security. Put too many on the ground, there's no doubt. And once you do that, the other teams that are watching you, that are studying you, they kind of smell blood in the water, and they're going to go relentlessly after that football. So we know that that's going to happen, and we've got to step up to the challenge.
They got that Wink Martindale defense that's coming up. Now, that really is, to me, Mike, the only challenge other than just trying to contain a little bit of what Daniel Jones can do, because Daniel Jones's weapons are pretty much, short of Saquon Barkley, are pretty much all sidelined in this contest. So I would assume that it's just I'm waiting for them to kind of, for lack of a better term, start to open up the offense a little bit and start to take a few more shots and chances downfield as well. Yeah,
the Giants defensive coordinator is Wink Martindale. Now, you recognize that name as the game show host, right?
Oh, yeah, game show host from years gone by.
Yeah, and, I talked to one of the people in our office who I said, Bob Eubanks, Jim Lang from the dating game, Bob Eubanks from the Newlywed Show. See, all these guys were these L.A. top 40 disc jockeys when, I was a kid in grade school growing up. But they had these great gigs where they could do their radio gig playing Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Doors, and then they'd go over to ABC and they'd tape these game shows and make a big cash load of money for about 10 years. And Wink Martindale was one of them. Now, this guy's name is Don Martindale, but somewhere 25 years ago in the NFL, someone named him Wink Martindale, and the name is stuck. He had been the linebackers coach and then defensive coordinator for the Ravens. And then Dable, when he came over from the Buffalo Bills, brought him up to be defensive coordinator of the Giants. These guys are, old friends. And Martindale's really good at schemes. And so maybe this is one of the things that's, been bothering LaFleur this week, is because he feels like it's a short week to get ready for a Wink Martindale defense. Is that a consideration?
I mean, certainly there's always more you can do, right? And I know just some of the challenges that kind of present themselves in terms of facing the Giants, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Wink does a great job of giving you a ton of different looks, and you never are quite sure what you're going to get. He just does a good job of game planning you and presenting a lot of challenging looks. So you can never get enough work really on all the different things that you may get. And then specifically on offense, just kind of the questions around the quarterback situation and some of the things that they could do from an offensive standpoint are challenging as well. So I think just all in all, it's just cramming all this stuff in over the last 2 days. It does provide a few obstacles in terms of just getting everything repped.
Mike, it's interesting when, this is about a game, and what Matt LaFleur has been dealing with is all the different aspects, trying to make sure the body clocks are right, travel schedule, keeping guys up, trying to still game plan, still try to get yourself together and get practice in. And in the meantime, you got Aaron Rodgers going, we wouldn't mind getting out and checking out a few pubs, having a Guinness, So no wonder Matt LaFleur's a little bit uptight.
I know everybody would have thought that would have been Rodgers, the one complaining about the long travel. No, he said he's been looking forward to this. And, finally the Green Bay Packers are leaving. He understood the business end of it, why, the Jaguars would say, no, we don't want to face those guys in London. We want the Packers here in Jacksonville because we know all the Packer fans are going to follow the team. So, Rodgers was just asked point blank, it seems like your head coach is a little testy. What's going on there?
Listen, coaches are creatures of habit even more than players. Anytime there's a minute adjustment to the schedule, it throws them all out of whack.
It seems like Aaron Rodgers, though, is actually in a pretty good mood.
He's in the best mood I've seen him in 2 or 3 years, quite frankly. Things seem to be coming together. Now, the challenges on this Giants defense, Dexter Lawrence is a guy that they drafted 3 years ago. He now seems to be coming onto his own. It seems like he's caught onto the game. It seems like, Martindale and his staff have got things set up for him so he understands what his role is. And he lines up at nose tackle and is very disruptive over the middle. But you look at their injury report, man, they've got 4 defensive backs on the injury report. They are down another man. And Wink Martindale, though, he said, I love the challenge, though. But, going up against this Aaron Rodgers guy, because I've been against him 3 or 4 times when I was with the Ravens and other teams in the NFL. He said, going against Aaron Rodgers is like dealing with a snake.
It's like owning a python and say, don't worry about it, he won't bite. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. To me, there's no difference. I think that, he's just as effective today as he was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That would be like saying that, I don't know, Michael Jordan can't hit any 3-pointers. You're going to guard him outside and then he'll hit 5 or 6 3-pointers on you. So he's playing at top level. When I'm retired in a golf cart someplace down in Florida hitting a golf ball, I hope he's in the foursome in front of me and I'll hit a golf ball into him.
Wow. Well, there you go. Hope Aaron Rodgers doesn't retire to the same country club Wink Martindale does. Let's do this. Yeah. Mike Clemens on board. Let's take a quick break. We're going to step away and then come back and get more of this and talk a lot about this game as the Packers head off to London. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show live at the Norwegian Hollow here in Baroque. We'll be back right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Galladay, we'll see how it goes towards the end of the week. I'd say doesn't look promising.
Robinson, Henry Mondo, Aziz Ojolari, Kayvon.
Let's go one at a time.
All right, Mark Lewinsky.
He should be okay.
Aaron Robinson.
Probably not.
Henry Mondo.
Probably not.
That's good news. It's not season ending then.
Nope.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. Hopefully you're having a good day today. A couple of segments to go on the Bill Michaels Show, broadcasting live here in Viroqua at the Norwegian Hollow. They are going to be open on Sunday morning at 8 a.m., as many bars throughout the state of Wisconsin are going to be open up on Sunday morning as the Packers take on the new New York Giants over in London. In the meantime, we're talking with Mike Clemens. And Mike, kind of the laundry list of injuries. The one guy that is not down is Saquon Barkley, who is really running back-wise their best weapon. And because, their wide receivers are pretty much done. They've been banged up at the tight end position. They've got the quarterback position in Daniel Jones. He's hobbled. So it could be all Barkley all the time against a defense that's giving up, 5.1 yards per carry, which is one of the lower ends in the National Football League. I think it's fourth worst in the National Football League.
At one point, Bill, Saquon had a lineup at quarterback in their win over the Bears. So, this Giants team, man, they're tough. They opened up the season in Nashville and got a win over the Titans. Then they had no problem with the Panthers. They don't score a lot, but they keep it close. Their defense is what's keeping them in the games, and the offense is trying to improve and get through this long list of injuries. Now they lost to the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, but they kept that one close. And then they spanked the Bears at home in New York. Now. One thing helping them is that Daniel Jones was full participation. So even though he had to leave that Bears game, then come back after Tyrod had that two Bears hit him in the helmet, and he left with his fourth or fifth career concussion. He's definitely out of the game. But it looks like their starting quarterback is a go. But they've got 7 other players that are out of this one, including Galladay, probably their most veteran receiver at 29 years old. He jacked up his knee, and as Dable, the head coach, predicted earlier in the week, he wasn't going to be in there. And there's other guys, too, on this team, like Sterling Shepard. He was a second-round pick for them back in 2016 out of Oklahoma. He was their veteran receiver, their go-to guy. As a matter of fact, Odell Beckham Jr., who's coming back from that ACL he suffered in February in the Super Bowl, he was in the Giants building this week to see his old buddy, Sterling Shepard, to see how Shepard was coming along. Because Shepard had an Achilles last year, and then he got back on the field. And then in that Cowboys game on Monday night about 2 weeks ago, then he had an ACL. So he's out until 2023. But he's this guy that they think of so highly. He'll be on the sidelines to cheer these guys on. And then the other leaders, like you say, Saquon Barkley, who right now is probably the best running back in the NFL. And he talked about that he's trying to be the best in the NFL with all the other guys that are in there too, including the Packers' 2 running backs.
I mean, as a competitor, it don't just got to be a guy like Jonathan Taylor when we played Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. Those are 2 extremely talented backs. Every week, for me, you're really competing against yourself, to be completely honest. At the end of the day, for me, I'm just trying to go out there and just perform at a high level.
Mike, the defense under Joe Barry, and you and I talked about this the other night, they're either playing soft, scared, just trying to keep things in front of them, or they really haven't had to do a whole lot. So now you're facing a real threat with Saquon Barkley, but the fact is we would assume that the Giants are somewhat one-dimensional coming into this game, right?
Yeah, and as for the Packers' defense so far this season, it's where are the adjustments on defense? When you're up in Minneapolis and Justin Jefferson is running these crossing routes wide open, why aren't you getting out of zone and changing and finding a man to cover him? Or when you're playing the Bears and, the game is still pretty close. It's not garbage time. And suddenly the Bears are getting these chunk plays of 10, 15, 20 yards with their running game. And then the same thing happens with the Patriots. and they're down to their third string quarterback. They're running the football on you and tying it and sending it into overtime. And so Joe Barry was asked what he's told his players about this week's threat with Saquon Barkley in the backfield.
He's like 5.5, I think, per carry right now. Phenomenal player, phenomenal talent. He's got all the, he's explosive, he's big. They do a great job with him throwing the ball as well. They find ways to get him the ball, not just turning around and handing him. He's the best in our business right now, statistically. So he's just an all-round complete back. It's got to be a collective group effort this week, because you can't tackle that guy with one person. It's got to be, population to the ball. Unbelievable player, unbelievable talent.
So, the one thing, Mike, in improving the run defense, because they play so much nickel, well, first of all, Adrian Amos, you got to get him back, even though they did perform pretty well without him. Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage, both of those guys, they're tacklers. I like the fact that they've got two safeties back there who can play over the top, but they're tacklers as well.
Yeah, you need these safeties to step up. I don't know where Devondre Campbell is, even though he's leading in tackles. He seems to be getting caught up in, some of the garbage. You got Quay Walker, who's still learning the ropes. And Darnell Savage, I'll give it to him. After 3 or 4 years now in Green Bay, he's stepping up, being a little bit more vocal. And we asked him directly, the run is killing you guys. You're gonna lose a game if you're not careful, right?
Definitely a point of emphasis. That's something that we want to tighten up on. And I think it'll happen over time, just with getting used to playing with each other and stuff like that, trusting each other to be in the right gaps, not trying to do too much. We got a lot of good players, so I feel like we can kind of make plays whenever. We just got to pick and choose when we try to, go for those big plays. So I think we'll be fine.
I will say this, though, when Adrian Amos went down, I thought the guys that came in and filled in, Rudy Ford being one of them, having that experience, it's not only paid off special teams, but it paid off in depth when they needed them.
Yeah, Keyshawn Nixon did a nice job filling in when Jair went down with the groin injury. And then last week, Adrian Amos takes a helmet shot. The ball carrier's knee hit him in the helmet. He left the game with a concussion. He was limited in practice today, so he's listed as questionable for the game. But Rudy Ford, one of these guys that Bisaccia had recommended, his last team was with the Jaguars, but they brought him in, and I thought he was kind of up and down for the few practices I saw him in, but they put him in that Patriots game, and he seemed to be in the right spot at the right time on the passing plays. He seemed to be really prepared. And Eric Stokes, we asked him, how did this former Jaguar, Rudy Ford, do against the Patriots, filling in for Adrian Amos at safety?
Man, Rudy did amazing. Pretty much, we already knew what pretty much Rudy can do coming from Jacksonville, too. He was unbelievable down there as well, we got a guy like that and continue, just show everybody, why he's more than just a special team person, why he can really play safety.
Mike, the other question I have for you is the offensive line. We had so much talk last week about when Bakhtiari's back. Does Josh Nyman move over to right tackle? Do they move Elton Jenkins into the right guard position or left guard? Do they move the line around? Last week, David Bakhtiari, he didn't play every snap. He did pull himself out, or they pulled him out, whatever, to give him a little bit of breathing room. So he's not back to full strength yet. At what point do you expect any kind of a decision there?
Well, he ended up playing 70 snaps going into the overtime. And he was only in there, Josh Nyman was only in there for a couple of series. And there's been no word that there was any setbacks this week after playing that many snaps. So maybe they still do that pitch count thing. But a lot of people have thought that, maybe Elton Jenkins, he's trying to come back from an ACL a lot faster than Bakhtiari, obviously. He seems to have kind of struggled at the right tackle position. Now, here's a counterpoint. And this is not even getting whispers from players or sources. You got the head coach saying, when he was asked, you guys are really high on Josh Nyman, a left tackle. Maybe he should play right tackle, and you put in Elton Jenkins back in at guard, where he was so solid for 3 years. Or maybe even center, if Josh Myers, is missing snaps and stuff with Aaron Rodgers. You talk to Adam Stenovich, who got into Green Bay as an offensive line coach, and he now is your offensive coordinator. And he said, hold the phone a little bit. Elton Jenkins is our right tackle.
you're always looking to put your best five out there, and right now, I think Elton's, for us, best at right tackle. And for him, it's the challenge of, left tackle or right tackle. You're going to be playing against the best D lineman on every team, those edge guys. And he's an alpha, he's a dog, and he's going to approach it every week. He wants that on his shoulders.
The offense, Mike, as far as, scoring prowess goes, we just got done talking about before we brought you on about the ability to open things up. Is it just a matter of kind of getting familiarity and such, or just getting the pieces back? I think personally, Robert Tonyan is going to become more and more involved in the offense, specifically in the red zone, kind of like Bubba Franks did back when, Brett Favre had success with the tight end position with him in that sense. So that's just me, but I think it's going to become a more spread offense as far as spreading the ball around. And I think we're going to start seeing more shots downfield eventually here soon as well.
Yeah, maybe they get Christian Watson back. They give him another shot because he's the fastest guy in the field for either team. But that drop against the Vikings first play was huge. Now, it was great to see them getting involved with things like the jet sweep, and he got the touchdown and had the Lambeau leap. Dobbs has just been Dobbs set a record. The last rookie receiver to have the most receptions in a game was Max McGee in 1954. And now Dobbs has had 8 or 9 catches the last couple of games. But Tonyan, at tight end, you got Mercedes Lewis blocking. You got Tonyan, who a couple of years ago had 11 touchdowns. It helps if your receivers are covered. You can get a tight end over the middle on a 3rd and 7. But, he's trying to get his confidence back with his knee. And again, Elton Jenkins is sort of getting into it. These guys they're trying to get in sync as an offense. And Tonyan says that's all he thinks it takes right now so that they can score maybe 2 more touchdowns a game as they move forward.
I think just a lot of young, new guys and people finding new roles. And I wouldn't say finding our identity, but I just think just figuring it out. And, we're grateful to be in the 3-1 spot. Our defense is playing well. And it's not that we're playing bad. I just think that people are just kind of finding their niche and getting comfortable with the offense.
By the way, Mike, Jerry hits us up on the Bud Light live stream. He said, tell Mike Clemens we're talking about Rudy Ford and Keyshawn Nixon. Ford and Nixon. Oh, my God. Just wanted to throw it out there.
Oh, yeah. And didn't Ford pardon Nixon? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to have the veal later, people. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Get on your ATV and hit the trails in Humbird, Wisconsin. Moto right up to the Scholze Family Beef Farm Store or order online at ScholzeFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Do you think, Tom, in all your years, there's even more parity now? There's a lot of teams that are 2-2.
I think there's a lot of bad football from what I watch. I watch a lot of bad football, a lot of poor quality of football. That's what I see.
There you go. Tom Brady. Everybody sucks but me. Tom Brady not in the best of moods anyway after word got out that he and Giselle have got some attorneys together to possibly split. So we'll kind of funnel that off-field saga. In the meantime, we've got Mike Clemens along for the ride. By the way, before we do anything else, Ben Kenny eagerly awaiting, I'm sure, some kind of a score in the Phillies-St. Louis Cardinals game right now, 0-0. So Ben is probably holding his breath, hoping the Phillies get a win. So we'll hang in there with the Phillies and Ben Kenny for the time being. In the meantime, Mike, when you take these guys, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and you put them together and say, okay, go out and be kind of equal to what Devontae Adams had, kind of a big task for those two young guys to make up for what Devontae took with him when he left.
Well, the fact is, look at the possession receiver that Romeo Doubs has become in just 4 weeks. Christian Watson is coming off a knee surgery, man, and missed a camp. And now you get the feeling like, hey, you know what? He could get 3 or 4 catches. He could bust one now over the middle, and try and get over the hump with his hands. And Aaron Rodgers was asked, as we're talking about Tom Brady, would he consider staying longer in Green Bay as he sees Watson and Doubs continue to progress in this offense?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of benefits to be reaped from those guys. So I'm sure long after I'm gone, those guys are going to have an opportunity to be here and play in the second contracts. But it's about development, really, for them. It's about their mental approach, especially, like I said yesterday, year 1 to 2 can be a big jump. 2 to 3 can be an even bigger jump. So it's just understanding what it means to be a pro and figuring that out. And hopefully, I think every young player should lean on an older guy and get some advice. I think as older guys, we love to share the mistakes that we made with the young guys so they don't repeat those things, and things that work for us as a young player, things that didn't work, things we'd like to see them do. I think it's really important passed on that knowledge. But look, my decision when it comes down to it will be obviously the physical part, the mental part, seeing where the team is at. Look at the defense. A lot of guys are signed for multiple years now. That seems to be intact for a while. We got a good core on the offensive line, some young guys. Obviously 2 great backs who are still under contract. There's some moving pieces, but, that'll factor in for sure. But seeing the development of those guys, can't help but be a part of the decision.
Mike, it's interesting that he said these guys long after I'm gone into their second contract. Well, that's 4 years away.
Right.
So
and also talking about weapons is the backfield. And A.J. Dillon, your quadzilla. They got him on a Zoom call with Saquon Barkley to talk about who's got the biggest thighs in the NFL.
I didn't. It was like it was 30-something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was 30-something.
Do you have the tape measure? Can we?
I can grab it. I can grab it.
So to be fair, Saquon expects you to have bigger quads, right? He know you're the bigger guy, AJ.
You got to flex when you measure them, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Naturally.
You do what you got to do. Yeah.
Saquon, have you ever measured?
Yeah, I have. I have. I'm not 30s. I'm not in the 30s. I say that.
All right, Age, what do we got?
We got 34.
34.
34. But it might be like more like 33 because I got sweats on.
Wow, that's impressive.
Daquan, what do we have?
I don't have my tape measure. I'm in the car right now, but I'm 29, not 34. He got me beat.
There you go. That's
34-inch. That's like my waist.
Yeah.
That's one of his legs.
Yeah. That's
why he's
enormous,
Quadzilla, man.
You always bring the in-depth stuff, Mike. Appreciate it. We'll talk again after the game coming up on Sunday. Okay, pal?
Have a great weekend, Billy.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. That is Mike Clemens. And that is going to do it. Thanks to the staff and management at the Norwegian Hollow for bringing us down here. Also, our buddy Ernie Betts and the gang from WVRQ. Thanks to Justin Running, the mayor who presented us with the key to the city. And just had a spectacular time yesterday. We can't say thanks enough for everything that's been done out here. Without a doubt. Also, State Representative Lauren Oldenburg, who was there yesterday as well. We're going to see people up at Gassers this afternoon, Kickapoo Creekside after that, and then just wherever we end up, we end up. Until then.